What's going on, guys? This is Mark the Bushman Bushy, and we got a group exclusive here. We got one collector who's actually from New Zealand with us today. We're going to be chatting with him, and his name is Brett Amos. Hey, Brett, what's going on?
Hey Mark, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. Hey, are you impressed that I actually got your last name right?
I am. I am. Most of the time it gets said wrong. If I don't add the double S to the end, people
Right.
don't tend to say Amos. They go Amos.
Yeah, so basically, just like I did yesterday.
It's nice and early here for me. It's 7 a.m. on a Friday morning
You're,
over here in New Zealand.
yeah, you're way in the future for some reason, dude.
I'm in the future. Unfortunately, that doesn't have any advantages for you. I can't tell you what the lottery results are
Damn.
or who won the Super Bowl or anything like that. So
Son of a bitch, man. I was hoping you had those results for me. I could use some money over here. I think everybody can, right?
yeah, I was wishing it had some sort of advantage. Yeah, we're 16 hours ahead of you guys. So um, I've already got up this morning bright and early. I've done my yoga practice. I've had my coffee, and actually now I'm having a beer.
That's just the thing to go for. Like straight in the morning,
Oh,
man.
exactly. Yeah, I like to think that's a balanced lifestyle. So
No, definitely. I'm over here with my freshly poured Captain Morgan. Rum.
you picked up some Captain Morgan.
Did it special just for this, man.
Excellent.
Picked up a big bottle of it, and I'm gonna have this for this interview
Is
here.
that just on the rocks, Mark?
Yeah, man. It's on the rocks. It's nice and cold,
Yeah.
man. It's really good.
I've got a very very cold Japanese beer here. Asahi Dry Japanese.
How's that?
Beautiful crisp beer.
Yeah, I
Oh,
like.
absolutely lovely. In fact, it's three-quarters finished.
Oh man, you're really going through that. I mean, I like a good beer. My friends, I have some weird friends, man. They're probably gonna listen to this right now, so I'm gonna talk shit and say they like something called Bud Light, and that's like piss water. No, I mean, there's no flavor. You got to go for the nice flavored beers. Like
Oh
I'm
yeah,
a fan.
I've tried that.
Yeah, yeah,
That's just that tastes like water with a bit of brown dye in it or something.
yeah. Exactly. I mean, there's no flavor to it, man. It's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
guess if you're drinking a lot of beers, I mean, you just go for the cheap stuff. But I like to go for German beers or something like that, just like a nice
Oh, I do. Yeah,
quality.
I do too. We have a lot of good beers over here, but for now I've got this Japanese beer, which is very nice and it's doing the job beautifully. So
Yeah, you're already 3/4 done with it, man. What are you gonna do?
three,
We just started this.
three-quarters done. Oh no, I've got a backup.
Oh, you got the backup. All right, so we're good. I was worried.
I've double parked.
Oh, there you go, dude. All right,
Yeah,
we're good to
you've
go.
got to double park your drinks.
Right. Oh man, I just got the one
Yeah.
glass, man. I don't got the double park.
I can't run away mid interview and go upstairs and grab another beer out
No,
of the
you're right.
fridge. So
I'm actually quadruple parked over here. I made sure I put enough rum in this glass over here, so I'll be running with it the whole interview. So I think we'll be
yeah,
all right.
I really hope we talk about wrestling figures because I mean normally our conversations go well off track, don't we?
Yeah,
So
we're 3 minutes into the conversation. Oh, we talked about his liquor.
oh we've talked about beer and Back to the Future.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the freaking New Zealand actually is the furthest time zone. Because I checked.
Indeed, yeah.
So
There's a town called Gisborne on the east coast of New Zealand, and that is actually the first town in the world to see the New Year. And
goddamn, dude, and the
yeah,
weather up there
so
is
that's
pretty
how
good.
far it is. That's how far ahead. That's how far ahead we are, which
Jesus.
creates all sorts of havoc when I need to listen to podcasts or watch live sporting events or anything like that. It causes a bit of trouble. There, we either have to get up very early in the morning, or it's at a very inconvenient time in the middle of the day.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for you guys, right?
Oh, exactly.
But I find it interesting because you got like collectors from all walks around the world. So you being from New Zealand, man. I mean, we've seen some of your collection. You posted some of your stuff, man. You got some good pieces. What's your, let me get into this, because like I said,
Yeah, I think people came here to hear us talk about
yeah,
wrestling figures.
we're not fucking here to talk about like alcohol and time zones. So we apologize.
We can definitely delve into wrestling as well.
I mean, come on, that's not the topic we're looking for, is it? Does anybody really care about wrestling here? I mean, we're here to,
Possibly not. We won't be talking about current wrestling, that's for sure.
no way. That's not
the
happening.
current state of wrestling. I'd rather not touch
Dude.
on that subject right now.
I don't really know much shit that's going on today, to be honest with you. I mean, I know little bits and pieces, but and also, guys, this is gonna be totally uncensored. We're not, what would you call it? Just like fixing up any of this stuff here or censoring anything. We're just gonna go and wing it, right?
I'm going to self-censor, Mark. I think you've dropped a few more F-bombs than me so far.
Have I? Ah, shit, man.
I believe so.
We'll do a tally later, but
you might win that one.
I'm winning so far, but we don't know yet. We got a long way to go. All right, let's get into it though. I guess we definitely been going at this.
So what would you like to discuss?
Let's discuss your collection, man. Let's go into that first. I mean, we saw the pictures.
Well,
on
I mean, I can give a little bit of background. I mean, I've been a wrestling fan since the 80s. Obviously, like a lot of us, since the golden era of the WWF came on television over here. Prior to that, we had a pretty good wrestling territory with the NWA throughout the 70s and 80s in New Zealand. Which we used to watch on television over here. And then I started collecting wrestling figures around the mid-'80s with the first Series 1 of the LJN line.
Oh, you actually collected like when they were in stores?
Yeah, as a kid, yeah. So when they were out in the stores. I mean, obviously a lack of foresight, like any child, buy them, rip them out of the packet and play with them.
How much were they in stores back then?
Get as much paint off as you can. I think in New Zealand back then they were around the $15 New Zealand or something like that, which is probably around $7 or $8 US.
Wow, that's a good deal, dude. To be fair,
yeah.
I mean, maybe back then it was a little bit more money, but
Yeah. I mean, the first one I owned, like anybody else, is probably that Series 1 Hogan. The yellow and red Hogan.
Hey, now listen. When they first came out with those LJNs, they used to come with the stands. Did you get one of those? Do you know anything about that?
I believe the first one I did get, Mark, did have the stand. Yes.
Oh, I did. Oof.
I had no use for the stand. I think I threw it away.
Oh, why'd you tell me that?
I know.
Oh,
I think a lot of people did that. Yeah, I do remember the stands in the shop because I remember seeing a lot of them with stands and a lot of them with not. So our problem with the actually we got speaking of LJNs, we actually got a lot of the Series 6, the 89 black card series, in the clearance stores here.
The clearance stores, dude.
Yes, indeed. So at one point there was a whole bunch of warlords, a whole bunch of Hakus, and all of those figures in the clearance stores. And in fact, I remember picking up the white and red Hogan for about $3 or something like that at the time.
$3
in 1989. Yes.
Oh my god, dude! Tell me something. How many you think there were of these 89 figures in the stores? Like, if you were to give me like a quantity, not just of a single character, but overall.
I'm going to sort of go into the release schedule of how we got figures a little bit later, but in New Zealand, but. And the LJN line came out in most of its entirety here. After that, it was. I'll get into that later. So how many? I mean, I saw a lot of those. We would even get the Bret Hart, the Hart Foundation 2-packs over here as well in the early days.
That's a big rail now too.
Well, yeah. So I mean, you can find on a lot of the trading sites here. You can find a lot of those figures here. Still, they have gone up in price now because I mean, since people can see, everyone can have access to the internet and see eBay and all that. People get can get the pricing.
Oh yeah, the prices are
those figures, so everybody knows. So, but up until about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, you could still pick up a lot of those figures at a very reasonable price. My dad picked me up a Warlord figure 5 years ago at a car boot sale here for a couple of bucks.
Man, a couple of bucks.
Which I've since sold on last year. But suffice to say, a couple of dollars is a pretty good price to pay for a Warlord.
Yeah, well, I mean, couple of bucks like would have been good even 15 years ago for a warlord.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. So you do get things popping up here. Now moving into the Hasbro figures, we only got Series 1 of the WWF Hasbro line here. That was it.
That was it.
Yeah, we had nothing after that. Wrestling was taken off. Wrestling was taken off TV in New Zealand, and WWF wrestling, which is the only programming we had here, was taken off television here in '91.
Why was that?
There was a couple of incidents with kids doing moves on other kids at school and injuring them. And being a relatively small country, the government decided that WWF should be pulled off television here.
Oh, man, well, that must have sucked if you, being a big wrestling fan, and they just like
absolutely. And the Broadcasting Association back there, we're talking back in the early '90s there. So they ended up pulling it off television at the request of the government. And so our access here to wrestling, or WWF at least, was only through VHS tapes, which you get at the video rental stores.
And you went by the PAL format too, because I know your videotapes are different.
It was PAL format. We used to get a lot of the Silvervision releases.
Yeah.
From the UK, because we're the same video format as the UK, whereas you guys use NTSC, I believe.
Yeah, correct. Because like your PAL videos would never play on our VCRs. I tried it.
That's right.
I had bought it at Royal Rumble 1990 on eBay, not realizing I bought the PAL format. I put it on, in the VCR, and it was like all the black and white, like popcorn fuzz deal. And I was like, well, what the hell's going on here? Like, why is this not playing? That was before I knew about the format thing, and later to find out that was the whole reason behind that.
Oh yeah, no, that's right. So a friend of mine, I've actually got a friend of mine actually collects New Zealand released WWF video cassette tapes. So there was a few distributors here that would release WWF tapes, and some of them, like I believe one year we had a SummerSlam, I think SummerSlam '92 came out, and that actually had a couple of exclusive matches. Also, they said on the cover, exclusive to New Zealand. I think it was a Haku versus, I can't remember the exact match it was, but there's a few exclusive releases like that. And during the boom era of WWF in the late '80s, we actually had the WWF magazine, which was like a New Zealand exclusive version of that too. And up till about '91. So all of those would be specifically made for our market. So it was more. So there was obviously a lot of bushwhackers in there.
Well, that's kind of weird that they would like make all that stuff for you guys still, but then pull the programming.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I did find that odd.
That's a kick in the nuts a little bit there.
Yeah, in the early, I'll go back to what I said before about just delving into wrestling historically here. Back in the early 70s to about 1984, we had a show called On the Mat here, which was an NWA style New Zealand wrestling show, and we would have had a lot of international talent wrestling on that show. And even prior to that, in the 1970s, live shows, we had wrestlers that all you guys would know. We had Rick Martel, Andre the Giant, Iron Sheik, Don Morocco, Mr. Fuji, the Rock's dad, Rocky Johnson. And even we did, a lot of people in the United States also know about the unrecognized title change between Harley Race and Ric Flair that took place here, that wasn't recognized by the NWA at the time. So that match took place in Wellington in the 70s, and that was a title change there that was unrecognized. And obviously, when they went back to the States, the titles were swapped back.
Really? That's that's like the Rockers scenario when they actually won the tag team titles, but then from the Hart Foundation, then it wasn't recognized either.
Oh, absolutely, because of the house shows not being televised, and obviously the only way of people knowing, there wasn't the way of how people get information these days. Information wasn't that quick. If something happened and no one said anything, then nobody would know about it.
Right, because it wasn't really like the internet back then, so it's like it wasn't getting around as like it would today.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, nothing gets around. So, yeah. So we had quite the storied history of wrestling in New Zealand. Throughout my dad remembers. My dad remembers throughout the '60s and '70s here. There was a lot of wrestling, and I remember it on television when I was a kid as well. And we used to go to a couple of shows at they used to have them at the YMCA gyms here, and they used to have shows at the gyms. We used to go to those. We would see the Bushwhackers they were first the Kiwis, a tag team called the Kiwis, and they became the Sheep Herders.
Never even knew they were called the Kiwis. That's news to me.
Yeah, as you guys would know them in the US when they first came over there, for various NWA organisations, and also when they wrestled in Japan as the Sheep Herders as well. So, I mean, they're most familiar, obviously, as the Bushwhackers, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the thing.
To most,
like all the people, like mainly maybe from the U.S., are gonna recognize them as the Bushwhackers. I don't think too many people are gonna, know them in their earlier days as the Sheep Herders, which wasn't really a joke tag team. Like Bushwhackers
absolutely not. Yeah, the WWF days when they were the Bushwhackers was really their payday. That was really their almost their retirement years.
Yeah, definitely. It was like them, their careers were winding down at that point. I think once they became like Bushwhackers, it was I mean, Luke still goes. Luke still wrestles though, which is crazy.
Oh, he does. Yeah. I've got a close friend of mine actually writing Butch Miller's book at the moment. A friend of mine, Shannon Goff, is writing a biography on Butch Miller at the moment.
Oh, that's really cool.
So he's doing a series of interviews with him. So I'd watch for Butch to make a bit of a comeback pretty soon on the circuit.
Well, that's good stuff. I'm sure he's got a lot of stories too to tell.
Oh, he's got a lot of stories, yeah. So you can check that out. I think you should be able to find the link on Facebook to Shannon's site. I think it's called Tell Your Mother the Bushwhacker Butch Story.
Tell Your Mother the Bushwhacker Butch Story.
Yeah, there we go. In process. A process have been written at the moment. Yeah, you should be able to find that on Facebook. He's got a page for that.
Yeah, definitely check that out.
I'm very interested to read that because he's got a very storied history in wrestling.
Oh yeah, like what, 50 years maybe in the business.
They've been in the business a lot of years, yeah. And also a quick bit of tidbit of information. Bushwhacker Butch is one of the only wrestlers to actually wrestle all three generations of the Rocks family as well.
Really? Wow, yeah. I never knew that.
So in 72, Butch wrestled High Chief Peter Maivia, which is the Rock's grandfather. In 1979, Butch and Luke wrestled Rocky Johnson and Rick Martel, which was as you know, the Rock's father. And also at that time, a young Dwayne Johnson was actually living in New Zealand back then, as well. He was living with his grandparents here, so he was actually in attendance at the 1979 show as well, where Butch and Luke wrestled Rocky Johnson and Rick Martel.
Wow, damn!
So not a lot of people.
Man, you got some good information on that.
Yeah, and then also, the last time he wrestled. Luke in '96, Luke and Butch wrestled a tag match at a house show against The Rock when he was a rookie, when he was known as Flex Kavana.
Who?
As well, which was before he was Rocky Maivia in the WWE. Flex Kavana.
Where? How come I never knew this? That's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
His name was Flex?
That was his first foray. That was his first foray into wrestling, so that was his first name.
Oh my god.
He used. Yeah.
I don't know about that name.
Yeah, I think a lot of New Zealand New Zealanders in wrestling get overlooked a little bit. Obviously, me being a New Zealander, I tend to that sort of thing, so it tend to be more important to me.
Oh yeah.
So that's how I memorize that sort of stuff.
Well, yeah, the Bushwhackers being from New Zealand, I would expect you to know more than the usual person from around the world. So I mean, damn, I never knew the whole Maivia family was involved with the Sheep Herders. We'll call them. We'll give them that name.
And Peter Maivia, the Rock's grandfather, actually trained a wrestler that used to wrestle here a lot in the 80s and 70s and 80s called Siva Afi, who was actually in the WWF in the later part of the 80s, and they tried to pass him off as Superfly Afi, which was Jimmy Snuka's cousin.
Ah, I'm not familiar with that name.
No, you won't be
It's,
familiar with that. It was a
I
very
was thinking of
short-lived run.
what's the name again?
Superfly is Siva Afi, Siva
Oh,
Afi.
see, I was thinking Alpha and Sika for some reason, like that
No,
popped in my
no,
head. So it's
no.
nothing in
Yeah,
relation to them. But
yeah. So I guess they tried. Yeah, so they tried. Yeah, they tried to make out he was Superfly Jimmy Snuka's cousin at the time.
they're always working with ideas. I mean, you got like
Siva Afi's biggest claim to fame was probably wrestling Ric Flair in about '85 in Hawaii. I think
really.
that was probably the biggest match that he had. Yeah.
I might have to look him up because, like I said, I've never seen a match of this dude.
Yeah. So you probably, and I mean, obviously, there's more prominent, more prominent New Zealanders in wrestling. I mean, Tony Garea is probably one that people will know because he was an agent for WWF, WWE for years as well.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar. Was he with
Yeah.
Was he with Rick Martel or no? I can't think of this
he
now.
did. Yeah, he's a bit before that era. He's in the 70s. Yeah,
I know who that is.
He did wrestle with Rick Martel in the 70s.
Yeah, I see the face. I totally see the face. I remember him even like during the Attitude Era as one of like agents. Mm-hmm. So it's like that.
And actually, seeing you brought up Rick Martel, another wrestler that you'll know, Frenchie Martin wrestled with Rick Martel in the 70s here as well.
So like a lot of history down in New Zealand.
You'll know him as Dino Bravo's manager.
Dino Bravo, yep.
In the 80s. So Dino Bravo's manager, Frenchie, in
the
80s, you'll remember, yeah. He also was a wrestler and wrestled with Rick Martel on a tag team as well.
Good. That's definitely good stuff because like you're telling me your history of like how you got into wrestling, like all the stars you knew and see, and you're like your father and just your family was basically involved in like wrestling. So it's like, probably your father brought it down to you, and that's how you became a fan.
Yeah, and my brother was later. We've got a wrestling promotion here called IPW New Zealand, and that's in Auckland. In Auckland, where I live, which is the main city, that's an Auckland-based wrestling fed, and they've my brother worked there in the early to mid 2000s he was a wrestling manager there as well. So yeah, I've always had wrestling in my life right the way through.
How long you been a wrestling fan again? What part are we at?
I used to watch it with my father back in the 70s, and then I took a bit of a break from it at one point, and then from probably about WrestleMania 2 onwards, again, I picked up on it again at WrestleMania 2, and WrestleMania 3 was obviously like when it really took off here well as it did all over the world.
So you got a lot of years under your belt as a wrestling fan.
Oh yeah. I'm in my mid 40s now, so.
And you said that
I think I've forgotten more than I can remember.
Well, there's a lot of shit that's happened. Like you, like you said, there was a big boom in the '80s, and that's how you got into collecting the figures. Like you said, you found the LJNs and you got the Hulk Hogan, and you threw away the stand. But then I would do that back in the day too. If when they came out, like you don't know much about them, you had told me like the Bone Crunchers from the Jakks Pacific line. They used to release these stands with every figure, and they were so pointless because you got so many of them. It's like, what the hell do you need 50 stands for? So at that point, just flung them or tossed them out like you did. I never kept them.
Absolutely, and I'm sure, and as an adult collector, you would regret every minute of that because you're like, that stand is going to help, because everybody knows those LJNs don't stand up well by themselves.
Oh no, they're terrible. You got to lean them against stuff now, dude. It's like. So back then it didn't matter to you, but maybe now as like an older collector, you can see,
absolutely.
And they were only in the first release of Series 1, like the first, I don't know if it was the first shipment, but whatever the earliest thing was, they all came with stands, and then they stopped producing them. So
absolutely.
So you got
even in '89, I was still buying figures in '89 with the Black Card series release. Even when I was 15 at college, I was still buying figures at high school. So I didn't play with them so much then. I just used to open them and leave them up on the mantelpiece or on the shelf in my bedroom.
Well, let me ask you this,
I'm still a wrestling fan.
Because the talk about the black cards is really intriguing to me because, I mean, I couldn't imagine seeing that today. Could you? Like, you go to the store and you see the frickin' black cards. I mean, that's like a holy grail for people nowadays.
Absolutely. And I can vividly remember ripping open many packets of those too.
Oh, geez. I wouldn't want those memories, dude.
I know. I try and erase that one.
You don't have like memories of, because what's really valuable now are the black cards themselves are worth money, but then it's the re-releases on the black cards that are even worth more money. You never like saw any of the earlier figures that happened to be on black cards, like they had Ted DiBiase.
Are you referring to the Grand Toy? Are you referring to the Grand Toy, right?
Yeah, it's like
the Canadian line.
Yeah, it's like Ted DiBiase, Big John Studd. They had like numerous names that would be on a re-release on the black card.
I believe that they did exist here. I didn't see a lot of them myself, but I have been told that they did exist. The distribution was very random around that time as well. Even though that was the boom for us here, the distribution was even more random of the Series 1 Hasbro's.
Do you remember what you saw on store shelves? Like, do you remember the vision of like what was on the pegs at the time, or you can't recollect?
I can't really recollect a lot of that. No, but there was. I remember seeing a handful of. Are you referring to LJNs or the Hasbros?
we're on LJNs, like what you would have saw for those. Yeah, we're still on the LJ. We'll get to the Hasbros, man. I'm working at the timeline.
Yeah. Pace my statements.
So Hulk Hogan and probably all the Series 1 you would have saw.
Yeah, like I said before, I think we saw we would see the tag pack, the Hart Foundation tag pack. I remember seeing Hogan
more than one.
Shirt, definitely Haku when he was in the Islanders. Yeah, I believe I remember seeing those. Those are the ones that stand out. Andre the Giant, the Black Strap.
Man, it's
X,
like all the big
Demolition,
ones too. So like all the big
Demolition
figures now.
X. Oh, Rick Rude, definitely Ravishing Rick.
So so you basically saw like all the black card figures then, because you're naming like the whole line. You didn't see Ultimate Warrior?
Yes. They seem to be in an abundance here at that time for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. Probably because Canada. Maybe it's a possibility. I was always thinking because of Canada being a what's the word I'm looking for here?
Well, I know they were like distributing Canada. Like I heard from the U.S. guys that they were never in the stores, and you had to order them from this catalog in order to get them. And you were lucky to get the one you wanted too, because some people like would order a certain figure and not get that one. They would just randomly select another one for you, and they would get it in the mail. I don't really hear too many stories about people finding those. So you're telling me about the abundance. Now, where would these be? Like all these black card figures. What's the store's called?
Yeah, we had a store called. We still do actually. It's like your Toys R Us, so it's like a franchise. It's called Toy World. So we'd find those figures. In a store called Toy World, and also there's a department store called Farmers, and they used to be in there as well.
Man, wouldn't you love to like stroll those toy aisles now if that was like what was on the shelves? That's crazy.
Wow. I'd love to take a time machine for sure.
So let me ask you this though, before we get into talking about Hasbro's, because I know you were antsy to get that one, but I wanted to finish off on the LJNs there. Was there any other like toy lines you were collecting at the time, like you were going for LJNs? Like let's say in between LJNs and Hasbro's, was there any other lines you went for that you can recollect toy wise?
No, not really, because I was a bit older then, so I was a wrestling fan, so I only used to go for the wrestling figures then.
Right.
And even then, because I was in my teen years, I didn't even really play with them then. I just used to collect them.
Right.
Just for sort of having them there, along with my Brutus the Barber Beefcake posters and
oh yeah, the posters. Got to have those. See, because we're technically live right now and uncensored, I'm gonna stop for a second and let my dog out of the room. And I'm not going to edit it, but it's going to take 2 seconds, so excuse me for one moment.
I'll take that opportunity for a beer break.
Yep, do that, because that's exactly what happened when I interviewed Zack Ryder. My dog was jumping at the door, scratching the door, and that was all picking up on the video. So I
recall that. I mean, as far as me collecting other lines of action figures, I mean, I would have started that back in the 70s, because when I was a young kid. Obviously I was born in 1973, so when I was a 5-year-old, it was 1978. So that was definitely during the Star Wars era. So obviously collecting Star Wars figures was the paramount activity at the time. I liked Battlestar Galactica figures.
Oh yeah, I'm
Star
familiar with
Wars
all
figures.
those.
I had Dukes of Hazzard figures. And I actually do. I still have some of those in my collection today. Not the same ones I owned then, obviously, but
Yeah, I was just
as
about
I
to
get
ask you
older,
that. You don't have nothing from your childhood still, do you?
I actually had that the white shirt LJN Hogan, the black card Hogan, up until about 2 years ago.
You sold it though? That was from
I
your
did.
childhood. What
I
made you
did.
want to do it? Was it too good of an offer?
The condition wasn't the best, and I sort of thought I'll sell, and I ended up buying a better condition one.
Well, you can't argue
So
that.
yeah, I know. On hindsight, it's probably a bit of a regret because it was the one that I held on to since I was a kid, and I probably could have done with holding on to it. But
No, I think you did all right. I mean, you can't have attachment to like every piece you had in your childhood, right? I mean, you upgraded.
wow,
So
no, exactly. I mean, and I've moved countries several times, and things like that as well. So, you lose things along the way.
so you had collected a few other things you had mentioned. So you had like you mentioned Star Wars.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, didn't every kid have Star Wars figures
I've never seen.
back in the 70s and 80s?
Well, let's see, because I was born in '88, and the thing with me is I've never actually seen Star Wars. There's a lot of like stuff I've never seen, but I know the collectability is through the roof. And there, let me tell you something. I don't know if you know the value of Star Wars today. Are you familiar with like maybe the values or not too much?
Yeah, somewhat familiar. To be quite honest, I've only got one Star Wars figure in my possession at the moment, and it's the original C-3PO on card. So that's probably the value of that's around 1,000, I think.
Yeah, there's some crazy like prices on those Star Wars, but I wanted to tell you something and tell everybody else something I knew. I had dealt with this guy. It was not wrestling related figures. It was I don't know. I don't even remember exactly what I dealt with. I think it was like Lord of the Rings or something like that, which is not my forte either. But he had told me that his aunt actually bought the Star Wars figures back in the day. I don't know if I ever told you the story.
No, I haven't heard it.
So she had bought like all the Star Wars, like every line, every figure when they came out in the 70s, like even the early ones when they even had like the something with the telescopes. I'm not sure like they would something. I'm not, like I said, really good with it, but had them all carded, right? Multiples of them. And she had probably like 200 of the original carded Star Wars from, I think it was like 77 to 83, right? And
holy shit, Mark.
But here's the thing, though.
That's crazy.
She kept them in the tubs, right, till more recent times. So I would say she sold them 4 years ago, 4 years ago, to her gardener, right, who she was not aware of the value. So
no, obviously.
So 200 carded vintage Star Wars figures, right, that she kept in the tub since she bought them. Oh. So you know damn well those were in really good condition. How much do you think she sold them for? I'm going to drop this on here because, like I said, I'm not a Star Wars fan, but this story always made me sick to think about.
Couple of $100.
No, man, just 100.
Oh, shit.
Talk about a low ball, dude. You want to talk about low ball?
That fucking gardener retired, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, they retired that day. That is a lot of money. That is a shit. There's definitely figures there that are worth thousands of dollars just for the one. But it's
man.
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff like out there. Like you grew up during the time of like the height of what is collectible nowadays. Like 70s, 80s, even part of the 90s is like everyone wants that stuff, especially like in really good condition or carded.
And what's your opinion on the current lines of figures? I mean, they will never be.
No,
they will never be as popular and worth and have the value that the older stuff does now. I don't think.
Well, I think the people that are around today, they have the nostalgia because we're all of the age of that. You know, we have our memories of what we collected. For me, it was like early '90s. Like I'm attached to the Batman and DC Comics superheroes line from Toy Biz. That was like one of my earliest memories. I didn't get to figures till late 90s, so it's like wrestling figures is not particularly my all-time favorite because as a kid, I didn't have wrestling figures. So as my childhood, like what my nostalgia is, it's not the wrestlers, but it's like I think everything nowadays they even make like figures just to be collectible, but back then there was nothing like that. They were never meant for collectors. None of that stuff. The 70s and 80s and early 90s, that was just meant to be played with. So why everything was open and played with, and no, I never think
absolutely.
There's going to be stuff that's collectible in the future. There's certain things we don't know. I mean, stuff we do know, but I don't think it's ever going to be as big as back then, which is the height of it, in my opinion, for sure.
I think as you become an adult and you do have the nostalgia for a lot of lines and a lot of figures and a lot of things that you watched when you were a kid, and I mean, more to the point, some people's families didn't have the money to buy a lot of that sort of stuff, and my family was like that as well. And as I've become an adult and I've got my own income, and my own disposable income to spend, I've sort of, gone, right, I never had that when I was a kid. I'm going to have it now. And I think that happens a lot with a lot of people.
And that's why that's why it goes for so much money too, is because,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It pushes the price up. I mean, I still find it absolutely amazing that you can get a extremely mint carded action figure from 1970s, like an unpunched mint carded clear bubbled action figure from 1970s, 1980s, or even the 1990s for that matter.
Well, Brett, what do you think of the idea that there's probably warehouses out there or something out there that has like the factory seal cases with that stuff in it that's even more dead mint than you can ever imagine? That that exists.
I'm absolutely sure there is, and I'm sure I'll find something like that one day in New Zealand.
Oh, man, you gotta tell me about it. You gotta message me, because I'm like, there's all kinds of finds out there. That's what people you would ask me.
I swear to God, there's got to be a damn box. There's got to be a damn case of those black card LJNs here somewhere.
Yeah. No, there's definitely stuff out there. Why would there not be, with all the stuff that's always found? We see all these finds out there. There's definitely somewhere out there for like every line out there.
There's a barn out there somewhere with those.
Fuck, man. As I say that, I realize the curse and storm that you dropped yesterday, you haven't even cursed once yet. So I'm leading the freaking thing over here like crazy.
I think I dropped a couple when you were telling me the Star Wars.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because that one,
with the gardener that bought a whole bunch of Star Wars figures for $100.
Well, who wouldn't? I mean, that's just absolutely insanity. Jesus Christ, dude. Oh,
yeah,
$100. How could he have done that with a straight face, man? That's just, he must know. Come on now.
Oh, he would have known.
But $100, dude. I don't want to dwell on that too much, because that's like Jesus Christ. Oh.
Yeah. I did have some Series 15 Bendums at one point that I paid a very small amount of money for.
Yeah, the freaking
as well. And compared to what they're selling for now.
Well, for that moment, that I don't know who the fuck bid on those, but that is absolute insanity. By the way, that is. I don't care what anybody tells me. It doesn't matter to me. But it's like, I know whoever paid for those, they way overpaid. You can call it like them never appearing online. That's fine. You want them real bad. But Jesus Christ, dude. I have followed those Bendums since they came out, because I used to be a collector of Bendums when they were, still in stores. I loved the line. And I never found Series 15 in stores. They were never in stores over here. But, dude, nearly $1,000 for Too Cool? Come on now.
Absolutely insane.
I don't know about that one. That's a little much. Maybe 300 max, but 900. Jeez, it just goes to show you that you never know what people are going to pay, right?
Buyer's market, you never know, and that set the precedent for that price going forward too.
No, yeah. Oh, I hope not. I hope that's not the case. You never know.
I hope not as well. Yeah, I bought three carded figures of those for under $100.
Oh yeah, I mean,
about 3 years ago.
Oh, are we doing like a challenge mode right now to see who got them cheaper? I got.
I'm sure it's you.
Well, let me tell you then. I got Too Cool, Grandmaster Sexay, and Scotty Too Hottie. It was 2015. They were both on eBay for buy it now prices. Okay, so no, I did not negotiate or tell someone what to sell it for me for. I just saw them on eBay. How much do you think they were each? They're carded too, not loose ones. Throw your guess.
$15 each.
Oh, you threw it too high, man. It was only $2.99 each with the decimal in there.
Oh.
How about that for a good deal? Can't argue that. And I sold them, but I think I sold them for like $100 each, so it wasn't like freaking 900 something dollars. But
Shit.
so we're
Yeah,
going into like, it's a lot of money, too much money.
That's a good price. That's a good price for sure.
Well, speaking of like big markets too, freaking Hasbro's, man, have been like, you want to talk about a boom in a market of like
Oh
value
yeah,
wise, we gotta talk about those
absolutely.
because you went from collecting the LJNs in the the 80s, and then you got into the Hasbro's. Do you have any stories of like finding Hasbro's back in the day or what you bought?
Well, I mean, the LJNs took us up to around late '89, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then we got the Hasbro range. So yeah, we only, like I was,
Yeah,
like
you
I
only
think
got
I
Series
mentioned
1.
before,
Yeah, you only got
we
the Series
only
1.
got series we only got Series 1 here, and even then that was very limited. And same sort of stores, Toy World, and there might have been a couple of mom and pop sort of toy stores as well that sold them, but not easy to get. And then with the demise of WWF on television in New Zealand around that same time,
Yeah, they didn't help
that
matters.
was pretty much it for that line. And so we actually, I mean, in relation to wrestling and to figures running concurrently, we only got between about 1991 and 1997, there was just zero wrestling on television in New Zealand at all.
Wow, you missed so much good stuff.
Oh, so like I said, we had to resort. So it only really came back for the Attitude Era. And then in 97, the figures started to filter back in. So we started to get the BCAs, the Series 1 of the BCAs, and going forward into the Signature Series and those types of figures.
Right. Which was a good
and
line. Because the BCAs.
Oh, absolutely. So
I love BCA Series 1.
Yeah, so we had a good 6-year period, or more here, slightly more than that had zero wrestling. So obviously the wrestling fans dropped right off then as well until the Attitude Era picked it back up again, where it seemed like every man and his dog was watching wrestling at that stage.
Well, let me ask you this then, because you say you had that time period of no wrestling figures in stores. Did you use well, I know online wasn't readily available for everybody, but I know it still came out in the early 90s. Were you ever using online during that time period of buying anything, or did you just not buy anything?
Oh, it was very hard to shop online back then, and I mean things like even in the 90s here, to get stuff air freighted into New Zealand was very, very expensive process. I mean, it's expensive now. Back then it was even worse, and a lot of the stuff was sea freight.
Mm-hmm.
And sea freight would take months and months.
Really? Oh, Jesus Christ, dude! I'm impatient.
Using things like money orders. So money orders to the US, purchase that. They put it, and they put it on a ship, and it comes over. It was a long, arduous process.
I forgot about those days.
Nightmare to deal with.
The checks and the money orders. I forgot about those days because it's been so long since we had PayPal. Well, it's been so long since we had like the difference of change now that I totally forgot. You could have been told. By the way, like I don't know if the sellers were as much trustworthy back then in comparison to now, where you're actually protected. So you could be waiting all that time for nothing. Just
money order. That's a very fucking archaic way of sending funds.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. It's awful.
That's got all sorts of room for error. Actually, I had to use a rather archaic way of purchasing some action figures in the past 18 months, actually. I had to send a $50 note inside of a Christmas card, a US $50 note inside of a Christmas card to a lady in Louisiana to buy some action figures off her that I saw on a local auction site over in the US.
That sounds so familiar to me. We definitely conversed about this, haven't we?
We did, yes.
What was more of the story?
So, a friend of mine that's in Alabama. He saw on a I think like on a buy and sell site somewhere in Louisiana. He saw that there was a lady had this is actually in relation to the Bendhams that I was just talking about.
Yep.
And she had these three Bendhams. And he says, "Oh, you should grab those. You should pick them up." And I tried to contact the lady via email. So she did have a computer. She wouldn't use any type of electronic fund transfer
Jesus
or
Christ.
anything like that. She didn't trust PayPal. She didn't trust any of those formats. She didn't trust do you have Western Union money transfer?
Oh
one of those,
my
but she
God,
didn't trust.
dude.
So I go, what do you want? She goes, I want cash. I said, right. So I went down to the bank and I drew out a $50 note and I put it in it because it was around Christmas time. I think it was late November at this stage.
Give her a nice Christmas card.
A few years ago, wrote her a nice Christmas card, put $50 in it and sent it to her in total trust that she would send these 3 figures to my friend in Alabama. So effectively what ended up happening is, okay, long story short, it did happen. She did send them and I got them sent here.
Oh, man, what a process, though, to get them. You were committed to making that happen, huh?
Absolutely. Well, I figured I only had $50 to lose, so it wasn't the worst case scenario.
Do you remember what those pieces were, though? Like offhand, if you were to name them?
Oh, it was yes, it was the Series 15 bench. So it was Rikishi, Taz, and Scotty Too Hottie.
Loose or carded?
Carded.
Whoa, that's money now, like we just discussed. But it's like...
I did sell them for I did sell them for a fair rate to a collector, but nothing to what they're getting now.
Yeah. I mean,
it would have only been about 10% of that value each.
No, I know that. Definitely, dude.
Yeah.
The markets are always going to fluctuate. I don't think they'll ever stand at like the prices they are now. Hey, listen, we got a little bit into like the Hasbros. You had mentioned that you only had got Series 1 in New Zealand. But we had discussed yesterday about the Austria warehouse. And I'm always intrigued by that story because I had actually bought from that. And to me, like, for fines, and like, I've had a lot of fines myself, but overall, I legitimately think that's one of the biggest things of all time is that warehouse. Because I don't know if people realize, but that warehouse had like 100+ cases of Hasbro figures sealed. Just wrestling, but not only wrestling, but they had like all other toy lines that you grew up with. All in this warehouse, but not only that, but they weren't even freaking collector prices. These were basically the prices you would have paid back in a day. So,
that's absolutely fucking insane that even exists.
My God.
I remember I've seen the pictures and I was like, this is like that. And talk about time capsules.
Oh my God,
that's a legit time capsule right there. The prices haven't even changed.
No.
They've got the same fucking price tags as they did in the 1990s.
They were €6 per figure, and but so what this was so we're gonna talk about the wrestling portion of it. You had them all like in the store, and like you had tons of yellow, red carded tag team figures, Series 10 figures. They were all on the shelves, like racks and racks and racks and racks of them. And you would think that was cool. You would think, holy shit, dude. So basically, like $9-10 per one, and this is 2016. But that was that. But then in the back, like I said, he has all these sealed cases of fucking Hasbros. And what ended up happening too, like for me to like tell the price, is I ended up getting 3 sealed cases of Bam Bam Bigelow, because they packed them 12 to a case, and Bam Bam Bigelow was the only character. Like, weirdly, that's how they did it. And it was basically $70 per case. And I was stupid to sell them all because, shit, now I want one. You know, I want to have one in my collection. And the only dude that I know that actually has it, I'll give him a shout out because he's the one that helped me get all those Hasbros. He got me the head shrinkers. He got me like 60 head shrinker figures, and it was Renee. He ended up getting all those, and he has a sealed case of Mr. Perfect right now.
Yep.
And it's
oh
man, I just wish that I had been smarter to get more of those and just hold on to them, because that's like a piece of history.
Renee has a very interesting collection. Nice guy too.
No, yeah, definitely. He's a great guy.
Shout out to Renee.
Dude, Renee Renee, let me say this. Renee drove out of his way a fucking hour just to shop there for me for a few hours and message me on the phone saying what he was like, what am I looking for? And he would put in his cart. He put there's a picture. I'm gonna have to find that picture. He has a van, and all
Definitely
my
post that up.
My shit that went in the van, he had nowhere to sit. That's how full that van was. of the stuff he
Holy
had
shit.
got from me. There was like 3 or 4 full carts next to his van. I'm posting the picture of this now because now I never shared that, and I just remember, Jesus Christ, I'm gonna be scared about the freaking cost of the shipping, and it was crazy. It was a lot of money to ship that.
Oh, it will be, yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, they had even like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which the Toy Hunter bought too. There's like this dude in the U.S., the Toy Hunter. He had
Yes, I
bought
know.
all those,
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with him. Yep.
but they had so much stuff, and I have all the images. So if anybody wants me to post those, I have about like over 50 images of the entire warehouse that I saved because
Wow.
I got in contact with the initial dude before Renee that was the guy who had discovered the warehouse per se and then posted about it online. That's how I found it. And Jesus Christ, if you look at this, you're going to shit yourself because it's absolutely insanity, especially when you see the prices too, because you'll see the prices too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my sourcing in the last 3 years for Hasbro's mint on card Hasbro's has basically been from overseas. I mean, there is no market for it here at all. There's probably a couple of collectors here. I mean, I think that I've probably got the biggest biggest collection of Hasbro's in New Zealand at this stage. There's a couple of other guys I know. There's a guy Carl in Wellington that I know that's got some Hasbro's. We used to have Junk Shop Dog used to live down the road from me in Auckland. So
And that's Adam, right?
Yeah, Adam HP McFarlane on the Facebook groups. So yeah, if you need to, I'll put in a quick plug for him. If you need to pick up any Japanese wrestling figures or any other wrestling memorabilia, hit up Junk Shop Dog on Facebook or Instagram. He's got some amazing stuff. Really nice guy to deal with. Really nice, really good prices. So I've been friends with him for a number of years now, and we have done a lot of back and forth deals and things. And he's actually sourced me a lot of my Hasbro's that I've got now.
Well, that's good stuff. Like for another collector to help somebody out. I mean, I definitely support that kind of thing for sure. Especially like
he's based in Australia now. He is an Australian guy, so he's actually based over there now. But yeah, he used to live over here in New Zealand. So that was one of my points of contact here. But yeah, it is hard to get those over here. And I mean, eBay is a good point of call, I guess. And once you start knowing more people, you tend to get a lot of DMs. You know, people offer you. I mean, you would know that, Mark. Obviously, people offer you stuff, and you know,
yeah.
DMs are always going with, "Hey, I've got this. Are you interested?"
Well,
hey,
yeah. I mean, I think in today's world, I mean, as good as eBay is, because it really is. I mean, I found a lot of my good pieces on eBay. I really think places like Facebook and Instagram are actually even better because I mean, you have all those connections to the collectors and all their pieces, and yeah, like you said, you'll get the message or they'll post about something, and you can always maybe get the piece you were looking for or need. So it's like a better outlet for that kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. The groups are invaluable for that sort of interaction for collectors. I think. I mean, and I've got stuff from all over the world. I've picked up stuff from the Netherlands. I've picked up stuff from Italy. Like people have contacted me for Italy. Even there's even huge language barriers in dealing with a lot of people. And I knew a guy that just used an Italian guy. I bought some of my green tags off, and he had to use Google Translate in order for us to broker the deal.
Oh, he had to go through those kind of methods.
Oh yeah, it was very slow and fucking painful, but we got there in the end. But every time I sent him a message, I'd get a message back about 30 minutes later. So having a conversation was like 30-minute gaps while he Google translates what I typed.
Well, at least he went to that length, though. You know what? Let's talk about some of your collection now that you mentioned the green tags, because I'm seeing here that you have. Let's name a few. We got the Rick Martel, right? We got Demolition Smash, Demolition Axe.
I've got Yep.
And then you got a Lex Luger. Is that correct?
It's I've got Rick Steiner, Lex Luger, and Demolition Axe and Smash Hasbro standard green tags.
Now, where did you all get these from? Is this from the same?
That's all from that. They all came through from Europe. They're all from Europe. Now the axe and Smash that I've got, are ones that Zack Ryder actually owned prior to that. So he's obvious. So somewhere along the line in the space of the 12-month period, they've got from him to I don't know who purchased them off him. Then they've gone
Mark Reynolds
to Europe.
Not Mark Reynolds, excuse
from
me.
Italy. So somehow they've got to Italy and back to me.
I know who it is initially. It was Austin Collins, because I remember him buying a bunch of the green tags from Ryder. Because that lot from Ryder.
Austin Collins has sold them to somebody in Italy, because I've got
right. No, that's how
I've checked out Zack Ryder's previous posts on the Axe and Smash, and the ones I've got are exactly the same as that.
Oh yeah, I mean, Jesus, man. We talking about like finds. That lot that Ryder found was sickening, absolutely sickening.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I believe it was in the big lot that he bought, which had all the 2-ups and all of that.
I'm gonna say something now
in there as well,
because I'm seeing some people on various places, because unfortunately, like we heard, Ryder and the WWE situation, they had people saying that, why is Ryder dropping $40K on these figures and prototypes? Like, he should have kept the money because now he's gonna be screwed. But it's like, to make that kind of comment, it's like, you don't really know what you're talking about, first of all, because if you knew about the field of like prototypes, as much money as that sounds, it was a steal. Because let me tell you,
absolutely, absolutely. If you've seen the contents of that box originally, what he got in there was an absolute bargain for that.
Yeah,
and I mean, and the ability to offsell the parts of it that you didn't want to retain is
yeah, because
that's a good way of financing what you wanted to keep.
Exactly.
So that's the way I look at things as well.
And here's the thing too, I'm not gonna blow any air on anyone's ass. Though the 2 Greg Valentines in that lot, the Toys R Us resin and the 2-up, that was worth the price tag alone.
Oh, like 1,000%.
And I'm not going to listen to anybody that says, okay, well, that's someone's got to pay it. Well, you know what? I knew or know of people that made offers, and if you total up the offers, he could have got the amount he paid. So it's like, I know for a fact, let me tell you, in my opinion, that lot, you could have paid off a house. So it's more than $40,000 for sure. So like, in terms of lots, one of the best lots, and you had got the demolition for that, which I think is really cool, because that's straight from a Hasbro employee's collection of like the biggest pieces of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. And in relation to what I think you were talking about collecting comic book action figures before. Strangely enough, my Lex Luger Hasbro standard tag, the item line name is described as Lex Luthor.
Is it really?
Yes, absolutely.
That's funny.
I can post a photo of that up later.
That's funny, because listen, when I had done, I don't remember if it must have been like it was the first podcast I did, and I was talking to Dante, and I was talking about all my pieces, and it's weird that he refers to the Lex Luger as Lex Luthor, because I refer to my Lex Luthor as Lex Luger. So it's like it's weird, like how you get those mixed up, because I have the prototype of the Lex Luthor, which is one of my biggest pieces, because I love the line.
I think you just mashed the two together then.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to do it. It's hard to say freaking Lex without saying Luger or Lex Luthor. It's like it's really tough to like I don't know. It's
I 100% call Lex Luthor Lex Luger.
Yeah, I know.
That's the way around I do it.
It can go both ways though. At the end of the day, kind of thing.
Yeah. So I'll post a picture of that up on the group later. It's actually you can see on the standard tag. So that's actually, I mean, obviously the card doesn't have that error, but the tag, whoever's in Hasbro's put out the standard tag in '93 for the Lex Luger figure has decided it was Lex Luthor.
So we're gonna have to I'm gonna have to write all this down now, because now I got the Austria warehouse pictures I gotta show, right? And then I got Renee.
I'll post this one up. Yeah,
I wrote it down.
You write it. Yep, you write it down, Mark. My memory's fucking terrible.
Renee's van. Gotta make sure I get that in there, because we gotta show all the stuff he bought for me. And then yours was the Lex Luthor tag, a new character that happened to be in the WWF Hasbro line. So write that one down. So you have all those green tags, but then you got more pieces to your collection that I find pretty freaking remarkable. In terms of Hasbro, do you got any other Hasbro pieces you want to talk about, or is those two, or those four, excuse me, like your big ones?
Yeah, I've got the some of my some parts of my prototype collection are actually from you, Mark. So I'm sure people know about some of those already. We've got the unreleased Hall of Fame Undertaker wax sculpt head, which I guess we could include as part of the Hasbro line.
Yeah, that is the Hasbro line. That would have been around the time of
which I've recently purchased off you.
Well, the paperwork on that would have showed the timeline of 1993 in development.
Correct.
But probably not a release till late 93, early 94. And that was 12-inch, supposed to be a 12-inch figure, and the clothes were been like, like the removable, and it's like real kind of clothes deal. It looked really cool for the concept, but they never came up with the rest of the body. Like only the head sculpts, it got as far as that. As far as I know, you never know.
But we've seen the drawings of the bodies on the is it the Macho Man and also the Undertaker?
Yeah, so it was gonna be Macho Man, Hulk Hogan, and Undertaker. But I don't know if I've seen the drawing of Hulk Hogan. I've only seen the drawings of Macho Man and Undertaker.
I don't believe I've seen a drawing of Hogan. I don't know if that exists, but I've definitely seen the other two. So that was, I believe that was something in line with there was a GI Joe line,
correct,
called Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Is that right? And so that was going to be a similar size to those.
And tell me this too,
a similar style.
In your opinion, right? So you got the Hasbro Undertakers, Series 4, Series 8, the male way, and then there's the Fun School, which is really hard to get. Tell me the truth. Okay, so that sculpt of the Hall of Fame, dude, that is so much fucking better than those other sculpts. Like 100%. Like I know what they look like.
Absolutely.
It's
because it almost looks like a 2-up. It almost looks like a 2-up size head. So
right.
I mean, if people can imagine that in relation to the production line figures. But the actual face sculpt on the Undertaker is a lot more detailed and a lot more, and the likeness is a lot better, isn't it, than the actual Hasbro released figures, which I don't think the actual likeness of the Taker's head on that is that close at all.
No,
those ones.
No, is so spot on the Wax Hall of Fame. I mean, that's pure '93 Taker right there. It's badass, dude.
No, I'm very fortunate to have that in my collection. That takes pride of place on the top shelf there.
Yeah, it's like for me, that's the unfortunate part about my life, dude, is that if I had the choice, I wouldn't part with the pieces, but like for the expenses and like how much stuff cost, the misconception being that I'm rich, which is not the case because I have to, part off with a piece or do this or, sometimes I get an offer I can't refuse. I can't hold on to all these pieces, which sucks because you wish you could keep all this. It's history. I mean, you seeing that piece, it's amazing.
Well, absolutely, Mark. In return, I mean, I had to sell some of my piece in order to finance that off you, but I couldn't turn down, that opportunity. And some people always think, and same with me. People think, oh, well, he must have a lot of money if he's buying that, but that's not always the case. I mean, I had to sell off some of my Galoobs, which I didn't want to sell off at all.
Right.
I had a Dustin Rhodes mint on card Galoob. I had a Big Josh mint on card Galoob.
So like rare UK releases.
The UK exclusives, yeah.
Real desirable ones.
I didn't want to sell those. I had to get rid of those in order to finance this, but it was just a case of I had to just weigh it up and what was more important. And believe me, I cried when I got rid of them.
Dude. It's like,
and I know you're upset about even having to sell off the Undertaker wax sculpt.
Well, like I said, it definitely hits home on some pieces. Like you think about what you've owned, and you kind of look at your display, and you still envision like what you had. And trust me, it is real hard to know. Like for someone like me that I make a living off of selling, like ideally, I like just to do that to begin with. It's just like a nice little fun hobby for me. When you gain enough experience, you just like to be like a guy that maybe just like has a store or something, just be someone like that. But then at the end of the day, I'm a legit collector, and I hate to have to sell my really good pieces. Like I said, I have quite a few regrets in there, but it's like you can't really look back
get
on
the
it.
emotional. You get the emotional attachment to it for sure.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like at the end of the day, they're
Yeah.
like they're toys, but then sometimes they're just more than that because like I recognize them, especially prototypes. It's like I described to you, like museum kind of stuff because it's like stuff that people don't normally have, and that's my thing to people is as far as collecting goes, I always suggest that you try to go for stuff that's not common or stuff that people has. You want people to look at your collection and look through the more common pieces. Yeah, freaking Hasbro and LGN are incredible pieces, but you want to like look through that and then spot other stuff that you're like, well, holy shit, look what he has there. Like I look at your collection, and trust me, because it definitely takes a lot for me to be impressed with something because I look for stuff like that, and you got pieces that I'm like, well, son of a bitch, I want to buy it, but I know he's not selling it, so it's like I see that in yours for sure.
I think I've used 3 letters with you many times. The NFS.
Yeah. Well, it's the worst thing to see too. I hate those 3 initials right there, dude. But it's like,
hey, as Ted DiBiase said, everyone's got a price though.
That is what I say. And listen. This is what a big controversy too is like with me and selling stuff when I get it right away. Okay, yeah, sure. I do sell like a lot of my stuff that comes through. But that's the thing with me is that I think a lot of people have the mindset in their mind that a certain number has to hit for them to sell like one of the pieces they really like. For me, I just put it out there. I have pieces on eBay right now. All my stuff, all my big pieces are on there. And the prices you see are absolute insanity for sure. But it's like, I have that mindset of, everybody's got a price. And that, I don't want to sell those. If I had intentions to do let me just do a quick resale, I'm no collector, I would put them at, the prices and all that stuff. But I don't have intentions to want to really part with those pieces. I'm attached. I'm a fucking wrestling fan of 22 years now. I mean, I love this. I love the sport of wrestling, and I love collecting. And it's
exactly.
Just
even some of the mint on card figures that I've kept. I mean, I've had the full line mint on card of the full Hasbro line in my possession before. I don't have all of them now, but I've kept the ones that I do like. So the way I see it is I'm very, very attached to that Series 1 series of Hasbro. So I have all of those mint on card because that was the series that was released here. And that was the only series released here, as I've mentioned before. So I have actually kept all those mint on card. Lately, I have moved into, in the last couple of years, I did move into the Galoobs, which were never, ever released in New Zealand at all. So that really piqued my interest when I started to see those as well.
Really? They never had the UK? They never had the UK exclusives down there?
We never had the UK exclusives. I mean, as the name suggests, I guess, they're only UK.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, you had said that all the figures were technically not around from like 91 to 97, which kind of almost puts them in the category. I know, like,
I think 1990 released.
1990,
the first series of WCW figures.
Yeah, so it's like almost around that time. Yeah.
And then the UK exclusives were the 91 releases. Or, I mean, slated for Series 2 US, but they never saw the light of day.
All right, so here's what we're going to talk about, Brett, all right? Because now you're bringing up the good stuff. Because the NFS, which I'll get to in a second. You had a few questions, by the way. So how about we shoot some of those in here, since we're already getting on topic.
Ask away.
So you had mentioned you have the Undertaker head from the Hall of Fame series, the amazing wax Hasbro. So that's a prototype. So you have a few prototypes. You actually have the hand-painted resins of the Freebirds, Michael P.S. Hayes and Jimmy Garvin. I believe that's in relation to this question. And if it's not, it is now. Sean N.G. wants to know, how much did you get those Freebirds for? And I know you got another Freebirds, and it was in your regular figures. And I know you answer that, so Sean, we're not asking that question twice. We've now just changed it to the prototypes. I don't know if you want to disclose that information because I know sometimes it gets crazy with prototypes and all that stuff.
First of all, I just want to say I love Sean. How's it going, Sean NG? Love you, mate. So yeah, no, Sean. Okay, I will answer that question just because it's Sean. Okay.
Oh,
so yeah, yes, I do have the prototype, hand painted hard copy prototypes of the Freebirds. I've always been a fan of Jimmy Jam, Garvin, PS. So I managed to get those. I got them off a guy in the United States, and they got sent over here. Yep, Barbershop Toys on Instagram and
give him a
Facebook.
shout out.
Yep, for sure. Absolutely lovely guy. He did the same thing that you were talking about, what Rene did before. He went absolutely out of his way, when he didn't need to help me at all, and went and took his time and actually drove and picked these up himself.
Oh, that's good stuff, dude.
Yeah, there was no, because he was a bit worried about even like for them being posting from one state to another.
Oh, the prototypes especially, dude. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I got a story about that too. We'll talk about something that happened with a prototype like after that. Oh, 2 stories. Jesus.
Oh, and I could imagine. So what ended up happening is I purchased these through him off a seller that had a bunch of Galoob prototypes up for grabs. He was moving into another toy line at this stage, so he wanted to obviously, as we were talking about before, you've got to sell something to buy something usually. So he was selling off some of his Galoob prototypes in order to buy another toy line, another line of toy. I think it was LJN prototypes at that stage.
Yep.
So he I actually got these sent to AFA just for authentication. Not grading, just authentication, and also because I wanted them to case them for me. And AFA contacted me about 2 weeks after having them and told me that they weren't able to send them in enclosed cases because they were worried about shipping them to New Zealand within the acrylic cases, and that they were going to break because they said they had problems in the past with the resin breaking because it's very fragile during shipping. So they didn't end up. So they ended up coming back to me approximately 3.5 months after I purchased them.
Oh, jeez, man.
So they were out of my possession for a very, very long time, which I'm worried.
Yeah, you must have been nervous about that one. That's quite the time to wait.
But I'm fucking glad I've got them. They're very exquisite. The detail on the paint is amazing on those. People have seen photos of them, I'm sure, and Sean's obviously seen the photos of them. So pricing wise, I'll go back to Sean's question. Okay, Sean, what I'll tell you, I'll give you a ballpark figure. I'll tell you they were over 500, but under 1,000.
Really?
Each.
Oh, each.
Yes.
Shit, I was about to make you an offer too, man. That's a good deal, man. I always thought Jesus, I used to own I don't know if you ever saw them. I used to own the Steiner Brothers, Galoobs, the prototypes.
I have seen those. Yeah.
You know what's funny too? I had a story about the prototypes breaking, and now me just mentioning that, not even thinking about it, I just remembered another part about it. So I'm gonna do this real quick because this is your interview. But let me just tell you 3 little stories about breaking.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you hadn't mentioned. So
it's not my interview, Mark. It's yours.
As much as I appreciate that, it's yours. I'll give right back to you. So I only broke over one prototype, and it was absolutely disgusting to me. I had the Scott Steiner Galoob, and he fell off the shelf, and he landed in a way to where his entire foot broke off. And that made me so sick, too. Tom Trotta, big Galoob collector, now has those. That's one of
guy.
Those are some of my favorite prototypes of all time, by the way. The detail.
He was actually part of this deal with the Galoobs as well. He was involved in that as well, getting those to me. So I thank Tom for that also.
Yeah, he's a good guy for sure.
If you saw me then, Mark, when you were telling me that story, I had my hands. I was rubbing my eyes and gritting my teeth when you were telling me that story.
Well, that's just the appetizer. Forget about, like, you got more to that.
Oh shit! Here we go. Okay.
Okay, so let me let me see about. Okay, so I had done another deal with Mark Reynolds.
Another top collector out there.
Oh yeah, Mark Reynolds is
shout out to Mark.
Mark Reynolds is one of the best collectors,
amazing
best dudes
collection.
of all time.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Always helped me out. He helped me out big time with like prototypes. If I had to like name one of the guys too, he was one of the biggest helps for me of all time. And we got the same
prototype collection is absolutely insane.
And it's funny because we think alike. Both our names are Mark, except one has a C, one has a K. It's kind of weird that we think so similar. Frickin', I had done a trade with him. But basically it was just like me getting the resin Hulk Hogan, which another regret, unfortunately, is, sold. But the offer was freaking ridiculous on that. So I had to get rid of it. I had sent him my only ever 2-up of a Hasbro, and I had the Sid Justice. And let me tell you, dude, having one of those is absolutely fucking incredible. Like, until you have one in your possession, you don't know how cool they are. And that was, like, amazing. They're massive, and they're pretty damn heavy. And I remember I had sent that, and he got in the mail, and he showed me a picture. He was like all the fingers are off. All the fingers on one hand are broke off, dude. And I was like, oh, fuck, dude. That is some kind of shit. And I was, I felt for him because...
Yeah, those fingers on most of the resin prototypes seem to be the problem, don't they?
Well, here's the thing, though. I'm pretty sure this is the only thing about that story is that the fingers were glued on, it looked like. So they had broke previously. So they were broken off again. But I think another finger that wasn't broken had broken off. But Mark brushed that aside, too, by the way. And he just said that it wasn't my fault, and he just glued them back on. So Mark wanted nothing out of it. And he just accepted that Sid Justice as it was.
Which, I mean, if you've got a one-off item like that, I mean, I guess you got to accept certain things like that. And I mean, along the way, they've been handled by a lot of people.
Yeah,
they're gonna have. I mean, even they might have dropped those. They might have dropped those in, in the factory, at any point in time. They're getting photography done, and they got knocked over, or
Well, that's the thing
with
prototypes.
Like, I mean, I've got cracks. In my Jimmy Jam Garvin's fingers. Have got cracks.
Oh yeah,
very small hairline cracks. And this is why AFA didn't want to send them in the acrylic case.
Oh yeah, I mean,
they said we need to box these and wrap these in bubble wrap, and then send you a sliding case separately, and then you can put the figures into the sliding display case. Well, that's what they said. That's what they basically said to me. Do you authorize that? And I said, I guess that's fine, because they go, there's no way we're enclosing these in acrylic. Because of we don't want to be held responsible for the breakage.
Well, see, that's understandable because prototypes, depending on what they're made of, are very fragile. Like, and prototypes were never made to last either. They weren't meant to be collected. I mean, let's take for instance my Greg Valentine. Do you see how beat up that is? But I still regard that as my greatest piece ever. I don't really care that it's all beat up like that, because like how many people really own a rhythm and blues Greg Valentine? It's a special piece.
I think a lot of us regard that as your greatest piece ever.
Oh yeah, dude, is
including myself.
Yeah, it's like, and I've had the Green Trunks Macho Man, and I still think the Greg Valentine is the best piece, and that's the only thing. That is what for me as a collector makes, as hard as it is, all those other sales not as bad, because I still have my best piece. I'm pretty good, man. I'm going on nearly 3 years of having that. That's a record for me. I'm pretty good.
That's good for you. Yeah, that is good for you, Mark.
But go ahead.
I've got if I got my hands on that rhythm and blues Greg Valentine, you'd probably have to drool off it.
Yeah, right. But now we're gonna conclude with. We're not concluding the interview, but we're concluding the story about the prototype of this certain thing. The story that really sucks is, I don't know if I told you, I told a few people about this, but the deal I had with Sean, we talked about Sean here, Sean NG.
Yeah, indeed.
He has quite the prototype collection. You've seen his stuff, and you know what he's got.
Oh, that's an understatement.
Yeah, I mean, he's yeah, exactly. But he had bought some prototypes off me, man, and it wasn't cheap. He bought some good stuff. I had an unreleased Bam Bam Bigelow from a Classic Superstars line. I don't know if you're familiar with the newer stuff, but they had some good stuff. He had bought the unreleased Bam Bam Bigelow. It was in gray. It was totally different from the one that was released. It was like a more of an ECW look to it. Maybe WCW, one of the two. He had bought, what was that one? I know he had bought some like TNA prototypes mixed in. Oh, that's what he bought. He also got an unreleased Classic Superstars Vader. He got this amazing 2-up of Rey Mysterio from a WCW Toy Biz line. That was a work of art. I got that straight from the original sculptor. He got that. And I had this original 2-up of Sting from the Toy Biz line. It was massive and fucking a work of art. And there was a few other things in there. And this is the only time this has ever happened in all my years of dealing with people. Fucking USPS lost the box and they never found it. And I had a case open and they didn't do shit about it. And so they basically did, I don't know, care what they said. I've been on the phone so many times. They never resolved that situation. That fucking box is somewhere right now. Or who even knows what someone deal with it. Someone could have just stole that. And, dude, that was
someone doesn't know what they've got. Someone's throwing it out. Oh, man, it just, yeah.
And Sean, Jesus Christ, man, Sean lost. He never asked for everything back. He lost so much money. Let me tell you something right now. I've seen people talk shit about Sean, and that's none of my business. I just know as a person, Sean has helped me out so much. When I have bills or shit, Sean paid me more than fair, and Sean bought so many of my pieces. Sean actually, I don't know if Sean wants me to tell this, but I've actually got donations. Sean gave me $115 to do, because he realized I was paying out of pocket to give away my stuff or just do these things for people. And Sean found that out and he was like, you're not going to do that. Here's $115. And he gave that. He just gave that like 2 weeks ago because he realized I was doing like the card break. He realized I was like buying boxes out of my own money and all that stuff. He knows I didn't have much money. So he gave me $115 to do it. And that's Sean. So like I see these people talk about him.
I've had nothing but positive experiences with Sean NG.
So it's like,
so I don't know. I don't know where the haters come from, but I've had nothing but positive experiences with Sean.
It's like
he's been good to me too.
I think it's bullshit, is what I think, because you know a true person when you see one, and like this dude's always helped me out, dude. Never have anything bad to say about him. So it's like, I don't know.
I would like to say something about the collecting community in general. I find, from my experience, I find most people to be very, very good to deal with. There's obviously a few that spoil it for everybody, but most people, there's a couple of assholes out there.
Yeah.
But most of the people are very easy to deal with.
Yeah, it's just like in real life, dude. You're always gonna have those assholes. It's just how it is. You can't have anything be perfect. I realize that not everybody likes me, but it's like, what am I gonna do about that? If you don't like me, that's fine. That's your decision at the end of the day. I try to do what I do best I can do it. And I guess there's people that have like gripes against maybe like whatever maybe Sean did, which he's never done nothing to me, or maybe the way I come across, I guess, because I don't know if people understand my situation or who I am, kind of thing. They just make their own assumptions up. So I guess that's fair play to them. I mean, if they can think that, that's fine, but it's not the truth. But yeah, I mean, you try to do the best which you can, and most of the community, like you said, I met a lot of good people. So a lot of good people out there for sure. And
absolutely.
The one day I'm going to have to do a podcast where I just sit there and Dante has to listen to me name every good person I ever met, and I'll just name drop everyone. You know what? I'm going to do that. I didn't list, make a note.
The shout out podcast for 2 hours.
Yeah, so if you want like 30 minutes of shout outs, you're going to get it. Maybe make that a bonus episode, because I don't know if anybody wants to listen to that, because I'll have to alphabet ties that whole freaking list, because Jesus Christ,
start selling fucking free plugs to everybody's Facebook page and Instagram, Twitter.
Right, yeah, like I said, there's more good people out there than there is dickheads. you could say, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, look
So
at
we
that.
were still on the Galoobs subject.
Yeah,
I think,
let's
until
let's
we
not get too far
departed.
subject. Let's go back
At
to
least,
the.
at least we haven't talked about hot wings and beer again.
Oh yeah, you know what? You know what? I might bring you on the podcast again, and then I'll do the hot wings there because that's an idea. Somebody had thrown out the idea because I had told them. I messed with one of my friends. I was like, dude, come on, do a stream, eat really fucking hot wings, man. Just do it. They wouldn't do it. One of my Dante did it, and he blazed through it. He did it with like nothing. I was like, I was like, do it for $50. I wanted to see him suffer, and he fucking ate it, and he no sold it. And I was like, what the fuck? Well, it goes $50. So now I want to do it, but during the podcast. So I greatly apologize to whoever we're going to be interviewing for that podcast because I can assure you, I'm going to be suffering, and I don't think I'm going to be able to talk like I am now for sure. There's going to be issues.
I think that's one to watch out for, guys. If everyone wants to see Mark eat his body weight in hot wings.
Yeah. That's a lot of wings, man. But it's going to be.
I for one want to see that.
I want to see it, man. I think shit like that's interesting. But you had mentioned about the Galoobs.
Are you allowed to wash it down with carbonated beverage or no?
I'm not a pussy. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just eat the wings. I'm going to be like a real man. I'm going to be a man, and I'm going to eat the wings.
Straight up eat that shit and suffer.
I'm going to suffer through the whole podcast for you guys. So.
Yes, we're on to Galoobs, so I guess we should continue along.
Well, we were on to Galoobs, but now we got the second pet of my house. I want to leave my room, so now it's a cat instead of a dog. So, second interruption. Let me interrupt you again and get rid of this animal. Give me a moment.
I won't leave dead air. I'll have a beer break.
All right, I appreciate you covering that. So let's go back to the Galoobs. You had mentioned the interest in, you know how Stone Cold has the DTA, right? Don't trust anybody. And unfortunately for you, the pieces I want, you have the damn NFS on them, which
I have a big NFS stamp on them at the moment.
I'm very disappointed in you that you have to say to me that, dude. You would think the prototypes of the Freebirds is the best pieces, but when I look at your collection, as I do, I need to talk about, you have these carded Galoob figures of the UK exclusives of Sting and Lex Luger, but these are not your average UK exclusive Sting and Lex Luger. There's something special about these, so I want you to tell everyone that's listening a little story about. So these are the
pre-ring UK exclusives of Lex Luger and Sting. Now, just to put a bit of backstory behind it, these were I got contacted by a friend of mine. Actually, I'll give him a shout out as well, Christopher Evers in Houston, Texas, and he has had these in a storage unit for a number of years. And to give the story behind it, back in 1990. When they were near the end of 1990, when they released Series 2 of the Galoobs. So he had actually he had either seen pictures of these or knew that these were going to be released. And then when they weren't released, he was querying where they'd got to. So when they only went up to Series 1 and then decided that they would release the Series 2 as UK exclusives, he actually rung up Galoob in the US head office and asked and talked to a lady on the phone there. And it was sort of late in the day, as the story goes, about sort of 4:00. And he was asking her about whether he could get hold of this pre-ring Lex Luger and pre-ring Sting. And the lady on the desk goes, "Oh, hang on a minute. The warehouse guys have gone home, but I'll go take a look back there and see what I can find." Anyway, she's gone for about sort of 20 to 30 minutes. Came back to him on the phone and said, "Hey, yeah, I found these. They're wearing they're clothed figures. That's the way she described it. She goes, I'm going to send these to you." And he's like, "Oh, okay, great." So when he got them, the differences that he found was that they were the Sting especially was carded and bubbled on a Series 1 US card, but it was a UK exclusive Sting. And also the pre-ring Lex Luger was the same, and that was carded on a US card. Now, on face value, when you look at the front of the card, the US Sting card is identical to the UK card. It's only the back that differs. The bio card on the back of the UK exclusive pre-ring Sting has the prototype picture in the bio of Lex Luger, which has the shorter hair, and also has the other UK exclusives on the back. So they're definitely US cards with UK exclusives on them. And we at the time of me purchasing them, I believed that they were either a pre-production sample of some description, or Chris was thinking that they were perhaps some sort of salesperson sample or some sort of toy fair display sample at the time. Now the figures themselves are production, they're plastic. They're not resin at all, and they're carded up as they normally would be. Now, where the story gets a bit more interesting is, I mean, that to me was already a reason to buy them. The fact that they were on US cards to start with. Now, what got more interesting when I actually received these in my possession, the closer I looked, and I compared because I had a UK exclusive version of pre-ring Sting on the UK card, which is the standard production version, and I had them side by side one day on my desk, and I was looking closely at them, and I realised that this pre-ring Sting actually had 2 painted blue stripes on the cuffs. Now, if you look at the production version, it doesn't have those. But if you compare those with the prototype resin version, which you can find pictures of online, it does have the blue stripes painted on it. And it also has extra decoration on the silver badges that are on the torso. So originally I noticed those and I thought, hang on, there's actually paint application differences to this figure as well. So this is a sort of a missing link in between the prototype version that was put out for the catalogue photos. I think the collectorate, if you find the collectorate on Collectorati, I think he is on Instagram, you can actually find the pictures of this catalogue. So you'll see the prototype version of the pre-ring Sting, the Galoobs pre-ring Sting on that. And if you compare the paint application on this figure that I've got sealed to a card is exactly the same paint application as that. So that's the first thing we noticed. And when I actually got these, I posted them up in a figures group that I'm actually administrator on, Dub Figs. So shout out to the Dub Figs admin crew there as well. And I think an acquaintance of mine, Ron Franson, actually pointed out when I had the picture of the Lex Luger there as well. He goes, hey, have you noticed the Lex Luger on the arms has actually got no flesh toning in between the robes? So there's actually paint application missing off the front of the Lex Luger on the arms as well. So these were somehow put into production as a sample of sorts prior to the release of the UK exclusive range. And also, I believe, I don't know, but I think they're really a salesman's sample or a toy fair sample or some sort of display sample to say, hey, look, this is what we've got. This is a Series 2 that's upcoming in the United States. And to the best of my knowledge, I mean, these are the seen like that as well.
I mean, I think I would say they're samples for sure. Because there's definitely, I mean, when I look at those, I can't say there's any other ones out there. So as of right now, I'm pretty sure you have the only Lex Luger and Sting like that. So, I mean, you're talking about something so exceptionally rare that you can classify those, the way I see it, like samples, something that differs from production, I classify as prototype. Doesn't matter if it's carded or what it's made of. I mean, you have something that differs from production.
Absolutely. Well, see, we never know. Like I said, we never noticed that at first either. We just thought that those were the cards were the only differences that there were. I mean, the Chris who I purchased them off didn't even notice that.
Oh, so you didn't know,
because I
so
mean
they
he
didn't
had
notice the
nothing to
paint.
compare them against.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, so you just thought the cards were different. So it's that.
I mean that's the obvious. That's the first obvious.
Oh yeah.
Obvious thing you can see. I mean, you know how the UK exclusive Sting card has the picture of Sting with the jacket,
Right.
and this is exactly the same card that the US Stings were released on.
Yeah. So then
and also the UK, and also the orange, or people call it the sort of orangey red coloured UK release as well of the Sting with his ring gear on.
Right.
So that was the same. It was the same as that.
So I mean,
card.
that must have been quite the discovery then, when you just thought it was like the backer card, and then you're seeing like all these paint changes. That's got to be. I mean, you had been pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and I mean, and like I say, I didn't even pick up. I didn't have at that stage. I didn't have the pre-ring UK Luger to even compare it to. But like I said, acquaintance of mine, Ron Franson, did, and he picked it up because he was like, "Hey, if you look closer at your Luger," he goes, "There's paint application differences on the arms of that too." So, at what stage this happened? I mean, who knows what happens in production, and I don't know whether these. I don't actually know how these, because I mean these don't look hand painted to me either. So I don't know at what stage that the blue bands around the wrist cuffs got included. If this is a pre-production model, and then suddenly when it became to be manufactured for the UK releases, it just didn't have that paint app.
Well, that's why I would say it is. I would say this happened before those other ones even came out. This is what they would look like.
Absolutely.
This would have been the earliest
So
sample.
they become a bit of an anomaly in that really.
Well, because like, to put it like an example of what you have, like Zack Ryder has an Ultimate Warrior Series 1 Hasbro, right? With the green tag.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at his doesn't have, the pink that's on, like, the pinkish like knee pads and like the little bit of face paint on Ultimate Warrior. His is more purple. His is actually purple rather than pink.
Right.
So it's like a different color, and those are like.
Talking about the Series 1. You're talking about the Series 1.
Yeah, like the jumper that with the belt on there.
Oh, and also the belt, that sort of belt part on the torso section is unpainted.
Yeah, and it's like.
And what's the other paint app differences? The wristbands are reversed, aren't they?
Well, no, that was my. They had made that one as well. The loose ones, but his Zack Ryder's the belt is the same way it was released, the green, but I think the green might be a different color too. I don't think it's totally the same kind of green. Like mine in comparison to his, he didn't have the reverse colors on his and all that stuff, like the different face paint, but his Ultimate Warrior card, like I said, it's not pink, it's like a purple. And the green might be a little bit different color. And it also goes to Zombie Sailor has this Brutus Beefcake where the shears on the beefcake, they're not all black. They're striped, and there's no name on the card. So these are examples of like basically samples that are on card. So I'm going to say that is what you have, because yours has stuff that the production one doesn't. And that is like pretty damn incredibly special. And I'm going to tell you that as much as I want them, I'm going to tell you that you shouldn't sell them, because those are pretty damn incredible.
Yeah, that is probably the last thing I'd sell, I would say.
I don't blame you.
If I ever had to sell them for whatever reason, that would definitely be one of the last things I would sell.
Yeah, because you know what I would say? We got this list down. You need to post. Well, we'll do it together here. You need that Galoob comparison. We can find a way to do that. You'll show the difference. I think I might be able to do that, and I'll try and arrange that today sometime.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
So that everyone can actually see what the differences are.
Yeah, show like the differences of like the colors, so they get an idea what you made.
They're very subtle, but regardless, they are differences.
I think people would love to see them. Like, they hear about it and then they want to kind of get a visual of what that looks like.
Oh, absolutely. Do we have any more questions leading off that? Because I think we're running over time a little bit now, but.
See, I like the way you think, because we had the same process of thoughts right there. I was ready to ask you a question, and I already knew where we were. I'm gonna say we're about an hour and 39 minutes into this. We're gonna run the 2 hours into it. It's more than we wanted, but this conversation just went good, and that's just what happens, right?
Did we have any more questions from the Facebook page?
Yeah. Well, we had some comments,
Members.
so let me just give some shout outs to some people that said stuff. I'm gonna just point that out real fast. So Pete Pete Beslick said you had a sick ass collection, and he just said wow. So Pete Beslick really likes your shit.
Word up, Pete. Yeah, Pete's a nice guy. I've had some dealings with Pete. He's a good guy.
Pete's one of the best. I talk to him daily.
Yeah, he's a man.
So Patrick W. Price said those green tags are serious. Also digging that Tokyo series. You got some like Japanese figures in here or something?
Oh, does he mean the South Korean Hasbro cards? Yeah, we didn't touch on that with the Hasbro. When we were doing the Hasbro little segue there, did we?
Well, we got 2 hours into this interview. We're at 1 hour and 40 minutes. Look, we can do 2 minutes on that. Let's quickly touch on it if you can do that quick.
Oh, right. So basically there was it's kind of a fun school type of situation. Now they were manufactured by Hasbro, and they're actually US Hasbro cards, or some of them can be the ones that the UK produced Hasbro cards. But they were sold in South Korea, and they've actually got a sticker over the front and also a sticker on the back. So it covers up the sort of the action, the real wrestling action label part on the front of the card, but it's an actual sticker over the front of it, which is obviously in a language I can't read. I did do Google Translate on it once. I think it loosely translates as WrestleMania wrestling action or something like that. But those were released in Korea.
And those harder to find too?
They're very, very hard to come by. I've actually got quite a lot of them, and I don't even actually know what was released. That's what I said. It's like a fun school situation where they've obviously got all the figures on the back of the cards, but what was actually released remains to be unseen. There's no way of telling. Now I've got a Hulk Hogan, a Superfly Jimmy Snuka. These are all a big Boss Man Series 1. The Hulk Hogan's a Series 1 Hulk Hogan. There is a Macho King. There is a Hacksaw Jim Duggan number 1, $1 Million Man, and a Brutus Beefcake, and also one of the only 2 that I've ever seen, a Rockers tag pack with that sticker as well.
Yeah, I'm seeing your collection here. I actually think the Hulk Hogan's the Series 2 because that's the Bear Hug one, right?
Oh, sorry, my bad. I'm looking at it from across my office.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I just wanted to clarify.
Right, it is the Bear Hug.
I just wanted to clarify just in case anybody was like, "Wait, where's this Series 1?"
I haven't got my glasses on.
No, you're good. I know you're trying to rush with trying to get everything.
Yeah, I was trying to get that answer out in 2 minutes.
No, you did good. They're pretty damn rare, and I think they're pretty damn sweet for sure.
So that's what he's referring to in those. Yep. Shout out to Patrick as well. Patrick's a great guy. I dealt with him before. Lovely.
Chad Sneed says those NWA cards awesome. Is he referring to the Galoobs?
Oh, my Galoob brother Chad. Yeah, no, he's always searching out the NWA carded Galoobs. I'm guessing you're familiar with those, but I'll just run through a quick description. Basically they were part of the Series 1 Galoob release, and they've got instead of presents the superstars of the WCW down on the right hand side above the Galoob logo, they've got presents the superstars of the NWA.
Oh man.
And those were pictures I posted up in the original post, so if you look very closely for those, so to any collectors out there that collecting Galoobs, if you ever see any of those, grab them straight away.
That's the thing. I didn't realize about those until more recently. Pete Beslick he had some NWA version cards, and he didn't realize what he had. And then he was like, holy shit, I had these, and they're worth more money. And I was like, what are you talking about? I never knew about the NWA thing. I never knew that there was an NWA version.
They can be worth considerably more money. They probably go for probably twice as much as a standard card.
Dude, damn, I never knew that.
Well, they were released. They were the very first ones released, and then they must have changed that to WCW because they didn't want to be affiliated with the NWA anymore. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
around that period.
Yeah, I like variants.
So that was on the that was on the changeover from the NWA belt to the WCW belt title.
Yeah, so definitely
So it's
hard
only
finds if you see any of those
so
NWA
there's only
cards.
so there's only the original Flair, Arn Anderson, Sting, Lex Luger, and a
So
few
basically
others
all
that
of
were
Series
released that
1.
escaped.
So definitely.
Yeah. I actually I don't even know if it was a series. It was only a portion of it.
Right.
Because I haven't seen Simmons or Butch Reed with an NWA card. So I think it was only the first. It was a very limited release of the main characters from the first. There is a Rick and Scott Steiner though. Actually, I think I might have just described them all there. I think there's Rick and Scott Steiner. Now these didn't happen on tag cards; these are single cards. So Rick and Scott Steiner, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, and Lex Luger.
Okay.
So
let me say one thing about rare pieces since we're on Galoob. We got 15 minutes, so I just want to throw this in because I want your thoughts. Because you're a big Galoob collector, I've seen your pieces. How about that 2-pack of Lex Luger and Sting? Because you have those amazing pieces, which I still think is some of the most amazing, if not the most amazing pieces. It's the UK exclusive. You see that the 2-pack?
yeah. So you're referring to the pre-ring 2-pack of Sting and Luger.
Yeah, well they have the entrance gear on, and it's the UK exclusive.
Yeah.
I had bid on that.
What they describe as they describe that as the pre-ring.
Yeah, I have bid on that too, and I lost it like a couple years ago, and apparently that's like the only one out there currently. Like, what are your thoughts?
I've seen
on
that come up. I've seen that come up on eBay at an astonishing price.
That's a steal, man.
So a friend of mine in the UK, Ben Stone, he actually first told me about that when I started collecting the Galoobs, and I'm like, well, have you ever seen it? And he goes, I'll tell you what, I saw it pop up a number of years ago, and he's talking about it in the early 2000s, and he goes, I haven't seen it since. And then it was sort of a point of discussion amongst Galoob collectors for quite some time whether it actually was around or it existed. That's believed just to be a salesman's sample as well.
Really?
Now, yeah.
No way, dude.
I can't. The pictures of it. I can't determine whether or not it's got the blue painted stripes on the cuffs of the sleeves or not. It's too hard to tell.
Wasn't it beat up to a little bit?
It's quite beat up. I think it's passed through a few people, but it's sort of to the best of my knowledge. I mean, someone may correct me on this. I think it's popped up in the early 2000s, and then it didn't even surface on any sort of social media and that until recently again. So it's been in somebody's collection sitting there. I believe a guy in the UK or an eBay seller in the UK's got it now. Now he's got a few Galoob things, with quite a high price tag on. But I mean, having said that, they are basically one-offs and almost unobtainable figures that he's got there for sale. But yeah, so yeah, there is that. It's beyond my price range at the moment.
It's pretty high. Wasn't it like 20,000 maybe, or
yeah, something
high.
like that. Yeah.
Well, it's probably another scenario.
It might have even been £20,000 or something.
Oh yeah,
which in New Zealand dollars is 40k.
Oh man.
So suffice to say, I can buy a car for 40k.
Oh, why buy a car when you can have that 2-pack, though, man? Come on.
Well, that is true.
Well,
that is true.
Like I
so
said,
that is one of the ones. Yeah, that is one of the ones that exist. And also, on the side note of the Freebirds, there is a Freebirds 2-pack without the sound module that's packed on the 2-pack card, which is actually quite hard to get hold of as well.
So there's like a lot of stuff out there. So like a lot
of
so
they did release a lot of variations of those the two figures, on different formats. So the UK Freebirds is basically the boxed version with the sound module. There's the 2 single Freebirds on the single cards, and there's the Freebirds on the double card tag pack.
Oh man,
as well.
There's a lot to collect if you want it all.
So if you're a loose collector, you're good.
God,
you're a mint on card collector and you want to be a complete.
Oh God, can you imagine? Can you imagine like a loose collector buying that Lex Luger and Sting and opening it? That'd be disgusting.
Oh, exactly.
I would.
Yeah, I don't think that would happen because you wouldn't be spending 20k on it to start with.
No, that's too much. Yeah, no, definitely not.
So was there any other questions?
There is, but I'm going through like all the comments people have for you first, so I just want to get those. I'm not gonna scream like
Okay.
Dante, because Dante would totally scream this because the way he delivered it, because he's got to be a perfectionist. Gordon Chen just says, "Yeah." He just got really excited for what you got, and he's happy.
Okay.
He's happy
Hey,
you're doing
Gordon.
this interview.
Yeah, I know Gordon. I've sold Gordon a few things, and I think he sold me a few.
We got Eric Nyinger. So let me read this correctly, because he used symbols on his whole comment. So he says,
Hey, Eric.
he said 100% fire. He's applauding you. He's giving you a trophy, and he loves you.
Yeah, Eric's a great guy. Eric's a great guy. We had a bit of a mail mishap with Eric. I sent him my carded Fun School figures over to him there, and his they got destroyed on entering his country by the post system, unfortunately.
Well, aren't they shit to begin with? Like the cards are not really the best to begin with, like paper thin. Right?
No, and yeah, they were packed up very well, but unfortunately, he said,
man,
been run over by a bulldozer. So,
I remember that. Yeah,
some of them survived. Some of them in the middle of the box survived, but some of the ones on the outer. So that was a carded. Let me think what it was. So Fun School Lex Luger carded, and also Fun School Razor remote carded, as well as the other more common ones, which are $1 Million Man and Roddy Piper, and there's one other one I can't recall right now. Yeah, so no, he basically bought all of them off me that I had, and yes, Smash. You're right. Yep, that's the one. So all of those were in a box, and obviously sent over to Europe to him, and got. So,
shit,
man. I actually the post service wouldn't refund anything. I don't know. He had trouble with the post service over there, so I actually refunded Eric quite a bit of money just to make it right.
So yeah, I mean, so we each had like our story of the disaster of the post office and how great they must be. You know, Jesus Christ.
There's many disasters.
Yeah,
and the post been very slow at the moment. I mean, I'm waiting on some stuff. Sean for about 6 weeks now.
Oof.
So
Jeez,
because
man.
the flights out of China to New Zealand are not very frequent at the moment.
Yeah.
They're stopping because of the COVID-19 lockdown. They've stopped all the flights coming into New Zealand as well. So getting air freight into here at the moment.
Oh man. Yeah. Jeez. We'll get through all that. We were talking about him a little bit earlier. Matthew Barber had a comment for you here, and he says that you happen to be one of the best he's had the pleasure of buying from and selling to. He said it should be a great interview, and he said it would be nice to hear a fellow Galoob guy on there.
Oh yeah, me and Matt are always chatting about on DMing each other about Galoob and that, and like I mentioned, Matt Barber. Or Barbershop Toys, as some of you may know him as, that he helped me get those prototype Freebirds. So I'm always thankful to him for that. And yeah, we've done a bit of back and forth trading and sales before in the past as well. He's a very easy guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy for sure.
Well. So I hope I've done him justice in the interview. Even though I think that I'm babbling quite a lot of the time, but anyway,
no, man,
that's
you're good. No, you're good. Matthew Barber's also the one that, like, when Zack Ryder did one of those episodes, do you remember he had bought like the whole Hasbro collection, like all the carded ones? He bought that from Matthew Barber.
Is that the deal he did at Disneyland?
Yeah, he met with Matt Barber at Disneyland, get the whole Hasbro collection. That's what he did.
Real stand up guy, Matt. Real stand up guy.
Absolutely. We got a few minutes here, so we gotta get through these. So you had brought some people into here. You wanted them to ask you some questions because you knew they were gonna have questions for you. So we got one from Miles Arden, and he wants to know.
That's my man. Miles in Alabama. The Alabama. Take a shot.
Yeah.
Is that right? To say?
Yeah.
Alabama Slammer. There you go. Got it out.
There you go, man. He wants to know, what is your Grail wrestling figure you've yet to acquire? He's not asking what you got.
Grail. Well, I mean, the goalposts have moved. My old Grail figure from the early 2000s up until the late 2000s was actually the mint on card Hasbro Dusty,
right?
The SummerSlam edition. So I've actually obtained that Grail. So then the goalposts moved. Well, what I've got to say, my Grail now is probably going to be. I'm going to go for. is probably what I want is the Ricky
Mattel
Morton.
Randy Orton.
What's that?
Mattel Randy Orton.
Not the Mattel Randy Orton.
All right. Go ahead. Sorry for interrupting.
Starts with R.
I was close.
Probably, one thing I really want as a prototype piece would be the Ricky Morton prototype, the unreleased third series of the Galoobs.
Yeah, that's a cool one. Ryder has that one. I know he had picked up 3 of them from Stom.
I know. Amongst there's a few other ones in there.
Diamond Stud.
Well,
definitely.
The Diamond Stud, yeah.
Tom
yeah.
Trotter has that one. He had picked that one up
indeed
recently.
He does. Yeah, I saw that the other day.
Oh
yeah,
man,
I knew he had that, but yeah, he's recently posted. And one thing, if I could find, just to take that question a little bit further, which I've never seen pop up anywhere, but I've seen a photo of it. So at some point in time, it did exist. Is the unreleased, which was going to be in the series 2 Galoobs. So basically, it's a repaint. It's the orange version of Tom Zink.
Yep. I know that one. You never seen what about the robed Ric Flair? You ever seen that?
Oh, the robed Ric Flair, yeah, that too. That's amazing. But for some reason, yeah, the orange tights Tom Zink. The robed Ric Flair's actually surfaced, hasn't it? Somebody does have that orange tights Tom Zink. So if there's anything I ever had to search out or look for, I'd be most surprised if it ever turned up. Would be that actually out of the Galoob line.
Well, shit, if we have a WCW Galoob employee listening right now, you know to contact.
Yeah. So who's got that
Brett
damn orange Tom Zink prototype?
Someone's hiding with it, just like Anderson,
someone's
dude.
Got it. Well, that's one of the few that haven't surfaced from that supposed. I'm doing air quotes here. The third series. So,
well, Ryder thinks he found one. I don't want to break it to him, but I don't think that's a legit, Tom Zink.
Like once again, if you look at the catalog that you can see the picture that I think the Collectorate guys posted up many times on Instagram, and that you can actually see the Tom Zink prototype orange trunks in that catalog. So to the best of my knowledge, everything else is surface bar that. So that's one of the things. Not so much a grail, but something I wish that I could find at some point in time.
Yeah.
Or even if it just turns up, I'd be happy to see it.
So this is gonna be some fast money round action, Brett. I don't know how fast you can manage this. By the way.
Shit! Okay, here we go.
You got 3 minutes. Well, we can go a little bit overtime. Don't worry about it. So don't be pressured. But we got a couple more questions we didn't get to yet. So Chris Maddock wants to know.
Oh, Thunder from down under. Hey, Chris.
He wants to know how much do you estimate you've spent on shipping in your collecting career, which is funny because you mentioned stuff about shipping.
Well, Chris would know because Chris is next door to me in Australia there. So us guys down here pay a lot for shipping. I would estimate shipping I've paid is probably somewhere in the around $5,000.
Oof, man, Jesus Christ! You could have bought Tom Zink in the orange trunks there.
I could have bought a lot of things, mate.
Right, dude.
Unfortunately, it costs a lot to ship down here.
No, I know.
Insured shipping, fast shipping.
You got to get it all. Just to guarantee it.
And the bigger the box, the more expensive it gets. So I believe I have. Some shipping cost me in excess of $150 US to get a box of say 5 items down here.
Well, let me branch off. Like I said earlier, I'll agree because if anybody knew what I spent with Renee for shipping, I mean that in itself was pretty expensive.
Oh, it's astonishing. I figure I could have bought a prototype with that money.
Oh yeah, no, you could have, but you got a lot of good stuff in return. But listen, Chris Maddock over here decided to ask 2 questions. He didn't want one, just one. He wants 2. He wants 2 shout outs here. So he wants to know what's left for you to get, and what is the next big ticket item. So is that like we're talking about the? Is this going to be the Tom Zink?
Well, Chris, there's a lot left for me to get. One of the things I actually did want was one that Chris sold to somebody else. So, but he knows all about that.
What was that? You going to say it?
He had a prototype Akeem.
Of who?
Hasbro Akeem.
Oh, he had that?
He had a prototype.
Oh
Hasbro
man,
Arcane. Yeah,
there was 3 of those
yeah,
that surfaced around the same time.
yeah. He had one of them and he sold it. I was, but that's all
Oh
right.
man,
Yeah, so there was that. I don't know. There's so much I need to get. Really, like I said, I did have a full run of a lot of them at some point in time, and then I've had to sell them to buy other what I deem to be more rarer and important pieces. One of them is something you have, Mark. So,
really?
yeah. So that's what I mean. You know, this
Well,
is a bit of my
you got a lot of
Valentine. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
I know, but man, you took so
yeah.
much of my collection already, man. Over here,
I
look at
have
you,
got,
just like you
I
know.
actually, in the past month or so, I have
Yeah,
actually got quite a bit of your collection.
I know you have. Oh my god, like I said, for me, Greg Valentine's the last to go. Just like your Lex Luger and Sting, we have the same kind of like
Yeah,
thing right there. It's
exactly.
it's too much attachment to them, you could say. They're too special pieces, right?
Oh, I'm very emotionally attached to those, and I mean, I mean, Chris who sold me those Lex Luger and Sting, he didn't even really want to sell them either, you know. But we came to an arrangement and a deal on that. So like I need to sort of hold on to them, for his sake as well as mine, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, that's
You
totally
know, and
understandable.
that's the sort of attachment I have to them, and he also does.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
We have mentioned this guy a little bit, not too much in this interview, just maybe like once. Sean NG had a question for you as well. Oh man, he has something typed out here. Let me read all this here. He's gonna put us well into overtime.
Oh yeah.
Also, New Zealand haven't been a great place when it comes to figure hunting. That's funny, right? Because we had to discuss that. What will you suggest besides the regular stores when it comes to hunting in Auckland? So I guess what stores do you?
Yeah, well, I know Chris. Chris. Sean has actually lived here at some point, and we've in his life, and we've discussed that. I think he did some of his training over.
Sean
in New
lived
Zealand
in Rhode Island, where Dante lives
he's
now.
lived in a lot of places. He's
all around the world.
Quite
Jesus.
knowledgeable about New Zealand because he's
Where
actually
hasn't lived?
did some sort of training here for his job. So he has actually lived over here. So yeah, no, he knows. Yes, it is very hard. We don't have stores like you guys do in the States where you can buy secondhand figures and secondhand toys. Now, there is some expos where you can get stuff. Like we have a Comic-Con festival over here called Armageddon, which is like a comic and pop culture festival, which we do have wrestlers doing. We do have wrestlers over here for that. We do have live wrestling there and things like that. But as far as buying action figures are concerned, unless you're looking for Mattel Elites, you basically can't really buy anything. Some of the local auction sites or trading sites, like eBay, we have one over here called Trade Me, which is similar to eBay. You can buy stuff on that, and a lot of stuff does pop up on there. But as far as finding stuff in the wild, it is just about non-existent. Now, back in the day, like I described, yeah, sure, you could find the LJNs and things like that, but nowadays it's few and far between. I guess like thrift stores are a good place to look. I always, every time I go past a thrift store, I'll stop my vehicle and jump in and have a look. I haven't actually found anything yet. A friend of mine actually found a LJN Rick Rude in there, which he gave to me, that he found in a thrift store shop. So they're out there. You can find the stuff.
That's good. Geez, I would love to find one of those. I don't get lucky out in the wild like that, dude. That doesn't happen.
Oh no, it's very hard. I haven't found, if anything at all. Most of my stuff's, like I said, come from overseas.
And
you guys.
Oh, definitely. Like I know you have trouble down in New Zealand, which I mean I can feel for that. Sean also said that he said you had such a sweet collection, and he said he can't wait for this one. So he's really looking forward to this interview.
Oh, I enjoyed Sean's interview immensely when I heard that on your pod as well. So
yeah, it was good stuff.
Sean's always very interesting.
He knows a lot. He's been doing this for like 30 years, man.
Yeah, I would definitely reference Sean if I need Sean and you, mainly Mark, if I needed to actually know anything. And I have, as you know, gone, hey, what do you think about it? I always get good feedback, good and honest feedback from both you guys.
Oh yeah, definitely, dude, no doubt. Jesus Christ, this is something else. Like this is the question we got to end on. Unfortunately, I guess Mike Zecca wants to know if you have embraced the Kiwi Cassidy gimmick.
Oh, the Z-Man. Mike Zecca. Hey, Mike, how are you? Kiwi. Oh, right. Okay. This.
I don't even know what this means.
This is a rather recent thing that relates to a picture I posted. Now, I posted a picture up of myself on one of the groups, and I got several comments that straight up compared my look to Orange Cassidy from All Elite Wrestling. So
is that where that came from?
I guess I do have the and I did have sunglasses on at the time as well. So yeah, I'll entirely embrace the Kiwi or New Zealand Orange Cassidy moniker if he likes.
We'll see that then. Now
I'll accept it.
I've been graciously gifted the name, Bushman. Now you are Kiwi Cassidy. So now we each got one, dude.
I'm Kiwi Cassidy. Yeah,
there you go.
I'll take that. I'm not probably quite as laid back as the Orange Cassidy character, but
yeah. Wait a minute, is that? I'm trying to think. Is that the dude with the hands in the pockets?
Yeah, I think Jim Cornette refers to him as Pockets.
Yep, that's him. Okay, see. Yep, okay, so now I know who you're talking about.
I believe. Jim Cornette refers to him on his podcast. Yeah, that's the guy.
So there we go. So now Brett Amos, which I have now figured
you've
out.
Done that twice now. Excellent.
Well, good thing the podcast wasn't yesterday because I fucked up immediately. But it's all right.
You totally fucked that up yesterday. Yeah.
But it's all right now. We got it. She just added the extra S to your name, and we would have figured it out pretty easily. But you know what are you gonna do? Freaking yeah, man. Like I said, when I decided to do an interview, it's like I think your collection's pretty damn amazing, and I thought you had a lot of stories to tell about your stuff, and I can see, you're kind of dude that's definitely gonna seek out more stuff, and I'm sure your collection's gonna build in 2020 for sure. This is not even gonna be the end of your stuff. I'm sure you're gonna get all the pieces that you're after, because I mean, that's the way I say it. Like if you strive enough and you look in the right places, you can end up with anything you want, kind of thing. That's just how it goes. So, I probably by the end of 2020, you're gonna have a freaking Tom Zink and orange trunks. Because a Galoob employee collector is going to contact you now and be like, oh, I got this. Do you want it? And, of course, you're going to accept it and probably sell a couple pieces, and that's how that's going to go.
As you know, Mark, it never ends.
No, it doesn't, dude.
There's not really any end to it. And even the stuff we thought we know, we still find out new stuff, don't we?
It's crazy, yeah. I know stuff that people don't know currently, and it's hard not to want to say stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like sometimes you can't.
Not always for public consumption. No, we've got to keep certain things withheld, don't we?
Yeah, definitely, dude. Jesus Christ, there's definitely. let me just say there is.
And even I don't know what you're talking about. So there you go.
Yeah. There's definitely. I'll say this: there's definitely amazing pieces left to be discovered and shown. I can confirm to that for sure. So I guess you can stay tuned to that. Hold on to that note. For sure.
Absolutely. And I'm very happy that you've decided to add national flavour to your Facebook group and also your podcast by interviewing people from different parts of the world. So that gives us guys that wouldn't normally get any exposure, some sort of exposure, I guess. So hopefully we can get a few more group members or people that are keen and a few more different conversations and from different countries out there. I mean, we've got Europe to cover. There's people all over the world that I've been in contact with that collect figures, and I've got very interesting stories to tell. So I for one, would like to hear that myself, you know?
Because, like, let me just say this, though, is that because I know we are going, like, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels overtime into the Iron Man right now, but it's all right.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but it's all right. What I was going to say is that the idea of the podcast is not supposed to be focused on me. I want to bring out all the collectors because I think a lot of collectors have stories to tell and they don't get to tell it and bring it out to everybody else. I was lucky in some aspect, whatever status I hold, and I hold that in good regard. I don't think too highly of myself, trust me. When I sign those 8x10s, it's all as a joke. That's all it is to me. I did as a joke to Ryder because I thought it was fucking hilarious to do that to him. Just thought it was because that's the way I do. I like to mess with my friends.
I still haven't got one of those damn 8x10s, by the way. You know.
I know we gotta get one to you, man.
I haven't got the Bushman signed 8x10. Come on.
I know you're gonna be one of them for sure.
Send it with my next package.
Yeah, I get those messages all the time, dude. Trust me. If I sell something, they're like, "Are you gonna include an 8x10?" It depends if my printer's working that day or how much ink I got left, because those motherfuckers take up a lot of ink.
Oh, they do. I will also do a Kiwi Cassidy signed 8x10.
There you go. Look at that. We got to join the group. We got to get those in the group.
Mike,
here we go. Wait.
You hear that, Mike?
Yeah. So Mike, we got the Cassidy 8x10 note as well. I really wrote that down. I got all the notes down for what we're supposed to do.
Awesome.
But yeah, I just, like I said, for the podcast, it's not about me. I think it's interesting to have variety, and I don't see anybody else. There's some good podcasts out there. I don't see anybody else bringing all these collectors out there that normally wouldn't have the voice to be on a podcast and tell their stories, because I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to be shown and talked about. I want to have worldwide people. You and Sean are internationals. We only had one U.S. So if we do a third,
you started at an A-list collector and worked your way somewhere down the alphabet for me. So I do appreciate you having me on.
You should have been second because your name is Brett. So if you went alphabet, but then technically
I am Brett Amos, so I'm B and A, so I'm right at the beginning of the alphabet, I guess.
Right, but if we go by the stage name Zach Ryder, technically we start at the bottom because it's Z, freaking. I guess you can look at it that way.
That's right. You start at the bottom, work your way up.
Yeah, you got to do it that way. So that means we're only to get better from here, technically. So, but there's a lot.
I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, Mark, and having me on. And I know we've run over, so I'm sorry for that, guys. If it's 2 hours worth of absolute shit that you've had to listen to, but anyway, I'm hopefully you got something out of it.
I think what Brett meant to say is that if you guys want him to be on the official podcast, because he didn't say enough, just tell us, because I think he has a lot more to say, because he can just definitely we have a lot more topics we can definitely go over, because he's just a good guy for sure.
I haven't even covered half of what I wanted to talk about, to be quite honest. And
now he brings that up, so there you go. So there's more to talk about. So hey, that's a good segue into the podcast.
There's definitely more. There's definitely more we can delve into.
We need Brett for 4 hours and 20 minutes total to get everything out. So we got let's see, we're only at 2 hours 11 minutes, so technically we got halfway through it. That's about 5 times more airtime than Sean got. Sean, I just want to let you know that. But it's all good stuff. I mean, that's a good conversation. We went all the way from talking about alcohol all the way down the line till where we are at now. And I think there's still more to talk about. So, damn. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Straight from New Zealand, man. Great guy.
Thank you, Mark.
No, dude, thank you.
Appreciate it.
I hope everybody enjoys this. This was Brett Amos, Galoob Hasbro extraordinaire. If you want his incredible Lex Luger and Sting, no, I have first dibs, even if he doesn't want it to be like that. But they're not for sale, so don't even really try. So good stuff all around. This has been it.